Heather, a couple more minutes. We'll wait one more minute. Okay, it's 7:05, so I'm going to call the meeting to order. Does anyone have any written disclosure or pecuniary conflict of interest? Sandy?
No.
Dan?
No.
And Dean? I think you're on mute, Dean.
Yeah. Hear me?
Yeah,
I was
now.
on mute. No.
Thank you. And I don't as well. So we should be taking attendance now. Sandy is here, and
Here.
Dan is here, and Dean is here, and Ian is here.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is petitions and delegations, and we have none. So item number 4, the next item on the agenda is report from municipal officers, and I don't see Chris on board. No, I don't see him.
No, I'm sorry. I thought he was supposed to be here. I'm not sure why he's not.
Okay. He did provide us with a written report. Talked about the dust master being applied to the roads, the culvert at Latimer Lane, Beaver up at Beaver Meadow, doing cleanup behind the garage. Also, they found the 4 corner pins at the property line at the fire truck access point, which is good news. Monday 16th cat, he's got his ditching machine down here. That's about it on that one. Does anybody have any questions that we can get Cindy to ask Chris? Sandy?
No.
Okay, Dan?
Just nothing in particular, just the gravel situation. I guess he can't get gravel. Is he?
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
Is he planning to get
Can't
someone
at the
else?
moment. Cannot. The Miron hasn't got a crusher in because everybody was shut down. Everything is behind approximately 3 months. He's
Well,
hoping to have some crushed gravel in the fall.
Okay.
Okay. Dean, do you have anything you want to convey?
Yeah, I just had I'm sure that Chris will get my comments through somebody or myself, but I just had a comment about the beaver, and they definitely can cause a lot of damage. I'm sure Chris is well aware of the costs associated, and if it's appropriate, we should consider trying to this fall, if it makes sense. Oftentimes, a local trapper will do that if we allow them, or without extreme costs. So, anyway, just a consideration.
I'm sorry. What was the comment?
Just that we could consider a trapper to reduce some of the beaver populations in those bad areas. It's quite common practice, and often they'll do it for very, very reasonable prices to take the hides.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next item on the agenda is Dean Maxwell, Fire Chief. Dean, do you have a report for us?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, right on. So for the month of June, we've had 2 calls. I'm just going to go on June 5th. We had an MVC motor vehicle rollover near the tracks on Highway 630. That was at 2207. We had rescue on scene there as well, and then we ended up having to do traffic control while the tow truck did recovery. The patient of the vehicle just got away with minor bumps and bruises, which is very fortunate. And it was a pretty well routine call for us as well. We've also got another call on June 7th again for smoke near Columbia Forest Products. This is a topic that I've been dealing with there for a little bit now. What's going on is Columbia loads their boiler up around 4 o'clock, and the smoke goes out, and depending on the weather and the wind, which way it blows, people drive by with their cell phones and they call it in for a fire. I received a call last week, Sunday night. The M&R called me, and same thing. He asked me if we had a working fire in the area. I told him, he gave me the location. It was right in front of Columbia again as well. So I called, told him, no, that's not what's going on. I explained to him what was happening there. So I have met with Chris Doward, plant manager of Columbia Forest Products, and we've discussed this issue. They're trying to right it the best they can, I guess, but till they get up and running full bore, I'm assuming that's probably going to continue, especially with everybody on high alert with how dry it is right now. So that's the 2 calls we had for the month of June. So for meeting nights training on June 11th, I had all the captains. We just got all the captains together and we had a meeting. We reviewed our MTO calls. They've got a new process now for us to submit our bills through MTO. It's actually we just kind of went over. They want more detail on this one call. That was about the truckers that ripped the wire down that were hauling out of Algonquin Park. We had to go back and prove that we were there with some pictures of the license plate and stuff like that. So I just kind of went over how important documentation is and stuff like that. And we take pictures here on scene as well, so that's how we can confirm that, right? On June 18th, we just did a basic wash all the gear up, make sure everybody's gear was clean, and wash the trucks. On June 25th, we did Auto X training. We did a drill like inside where we hook up the tools and stuff, and then we time each other and we race against each other. So it just gives the guys hands-on skills with the tools, hooking it up and running the gear and getting familiar with it and stuff. For fleet status report, all the trucks are running good right now. And for chiefs, for my report, I put, we got opportunity again. It came across last year, well, I think 3 years now, we've applied for Jenny's Heroes. It was a grant money to buy some new JAWS equipment and stuff like that. Last year was supposed to be the last year, but we got an email like 5 days. I could come across. I got it 5 days before the deadline. Sydney was gracious enough to fill out the form and zip it out there. So we have applied for some funding to purchase some new equipment. So I just want to give you a heads up on that. And I talked to you about some of the Forest Products, what the situations there. And the last thing I want to discuss, Pathno Cameron. Right now, what's happening with Pathno Cameron is they're down manpower right now. Neil has called me and just let me know that he would be giving us a call again, getting major structure fires. They're having a hard time getting guys because Matto is paying their guys so well that nobody wants to go to Pathno because of the pay that they're getting there. We just had a call at Pathno, a garage fire this Sunday we had a garage fire, and where we sent 2 of our tankers and a pumper. It was a paint shop, so there was high chemicals there, so we assisted Pathno on that one as well. And that's pretty well it for my report for the month of June. Any questions?
Andy? Dan?
Andy?
How's the filling station coming along?
The filling station at the thing?
Yes.
The Mazapo River? We just got the guidelines. You have to deal with risk protectors to take care of all that, but
Okay.
we did, like you can see it's outlined right now, the property line is outlined with rocks. So that's as far as we went for now. We're waiting for locates. They did locate, but they forgot to locate the bell wires. We were talking to locate guys today. So we're going to make sure to get the proper locates so we can get any bell wires. But that's where we're at that right now.
Anything else, Dan?
No.
Dean?
No comments.
Okay, thank you.
I'm here too, Mayor. Mayor?
Oh,
It's
hi.
Heather. I'm here. Hi.
Hi.
I'm here.
Welcome.
Sorry, my computer crashed.
Do you have any questions you want to ask of Dean?
No, I heard it all. It's good.
Okay. So our next item on the agenda is Jacob Grove Recreation Landfill and Cemetery. Jacob, do you want to talk to us about anything?
Yeah, so For recreation, the rink liner was removed the beginning of June. There was some damage done to it by a dog, or we believe it to be a dog, but it's still in good enough shape to use as the underlay for the new rink liner that would be purchased and installed this fall. The exterior doors for the community center were expected to be installed today. We received a call from the company that they still have not received them from the manufacturer. We've advised them to call us when they have them at their shop, and we'll schedule them a time so we're not wasting any more of our time making plans for them to come out to install it until they have all the proper equipment. And then at the Smith Lake boat launch, I've priced out some signs to go along with the parking bylaw the council had put through last year. I did a bit of a picture or map and tried to draw it. I know it's not the clearest. What I'm suggesting in that area is that we put a no parking between 11 and 5 at the beginning of the parking for water access only, and then a sign in the water access only parking stating that it's parked by permit to come and contact the municipality or the office to get information how to obtain the permit. And then on the lake side of the road, between the lake and the big pine tree or garbage cans, I'm suggesting that section, because it's so narrow, it's not a good spot for people to be parking and people to be driving around, that we post that as a emergency vehicle only parking area to keep a designated open spot for the fire department to have access to the lake in the event that they're needed for a rescue or that they need to get water from the lake for a working structure fire. And then down at the end, the furthest point where we did a bit of work this fall to clear up a bit more parking is to put another sign, no parking between 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. And then another sign just before the driveway, no parking between 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. And then for landfill, we've brought back one of the students to the landfill to allow for the anticipated increase in recycling as stuff starts to open, and to allow the existing staff to take some time off. We've also purchased some fans for the recycling area to help with the bugs and the heat for staff. This was done in an effort to help prevent them from touching their face, slapping a bug, or wiping sweat off. It was just in an effort to prevent cross-contamination with all the COVID stuff going on. There will be no change for Calvin residents with regards to the North Bay Hazardous Waste Depot. It has transitioned to full producer responsibility as of July 1st. When I spoke with Al from North Bay there, he said that our residents won't notice any change, but it's transitioned already. There will still be the same staff there to assist people and direct them. And the roads department has begun to bring ditching material into the landfill for us to use as cover material. Moving on to cemetery, there's no report for cemetery this month. We've just been performing regular yard maintenance there. For municipal enforcement, there was one new case this month, and no parking signs have been priced for the Amab Defoe Bridge at Peddler's Drive. It's expected to cost about $1,000 for the install of this. This would replace the 4 existing no parking signs that are there with larger oversized signs. It would also these signs would be tied to the bylaw for no parking. And I would also like to put an additional 2 signs at the bridge near the entrance to the fire truck filling station. And then I'm also suggesting that in the fire truck filling station, we put a emergency vehicle only parking sign there so that the fire department doesn't have to worry about having people move their vehicle in the event that someone's parked there and decided to go canoeing up or down the river and isn't around to move their vehicle. Is there any questions about my reports?
Sandy?
I have a couple.
Sandy,
I
you have
just
anyone?
thought, I was just wondering why you thought it was gonna be $1,000 for the signs. It just seems a little high. Is that including posts or somebody installing them or?
So the signs to purchase them, I believe, were approximately $70 plus tax for 2, 4, 6 no parking signs and 1 emergency vehicle only parking sign. And then that allowed for posts and hardware
Okay.
to be purchased as well.
Okay. Okay, that's it.
Dan, you have anything you'd like to ask?
Sure, the 6 signs at Smith Lake seem a little bit excessive to me. I'm just curious if that's really necessary to have that many signs there. I also have a couple questions. Maybe do you want to address that one first?
Sure.
It seems like too many signs to me.
So at the Smith Lake boat launch,
Mm-hmm.
I think if we're going to be enforcing a bylaw there, we should at least make the public aware of the no parking area. So at the very least, at the beginning and end of the no parking area, we should have no parking signs. If we've designated a specific area for permanent parking only, I think at a minimum we should have a sign in that area as well. Because if I came in and paid the municipality for a permit and then went there and all the parking was taken up by people going out boating or fishing, it wouldn't really be fair to that person that's purchased that.
Okay.
And then the one down at the end, by the regulations, I don't know if it would be required or not. I believe it's every 150 meters you have to have a no parking sign in the no parking zone. So I'd have to measure that out to see if that one is required. I figured that was a nice courtesy to people to remind them between 11 o'clock and 5 o'clock there's no parking. And then the emergency vehicle only parking, that would be up to council to decide whether or not they wish to allow that spot to be designated as a spot for fire department to use if needed. Or for any other emergency service that could be required, OPP if they're required to go out on the lake, or EMS.
Okay, the other question I had was the landfill, the student being brought back. To me, that should have been something that should have been brought to council first before you did that move. Is there more than 2 employees working at the landfill now? Does that mean there's 2 students and a supervisor, or how many employees are there now at the landfill?
To date, we have not had more than 2 people there.
Okay. I think that was probably something that we kind of had a directive about, that we didn't want more than 2 people there, as there's no sorting, and there's a lot of just directing people what to do. There's not a lot of work to do there right now. Okay. The other question I had was the signs at the Mabdefo River. I don't think it's necessary. I don't feel it's necessary to increase the size of the signs. If people can be a small sign, they're not going to be a big sign. I'm not going to obey it. I would like that area marked the same as the filling station that is marked at the Pottawa Creek filling station. Same with just a symbol that shows a fire hydrant. I know it's a symbol. I'm not a big supporter of a lot of signs because people tend to ignore signs, I find, and that this year we're trying not to spend a lot of money, so spending $1,000 on signs is something that I don't support right now. We have to look at the problem with parking in that area, all right, but I don't want to jump ahead on that before we had some discussion on what we're going to do in terms of parking in that area and how to solve it. I think that putting up all these signs is just going to create more of a problem. And I'd like to look at that farther before we move forward with any additional signs in that area. And for now, I'd like it marked just as the same as the other filling stations marked with the fire hydrant sign until we have some discussion on the issues there.
There's no sign that I'm aware of at the Pottawa and Pottawa Bridge on Peddlers. That's just a parking area that was created for people to pull off safely to allow them to access the river. It was not a parking area that was designated as a fire truck filling station at the time that it was created. And the no parking signs at the Amab-Defoe Bridge, according to the regulations that I've read, the ones that we have in place there, because our speed limit's over 70 kilometers an hour, are actually undersized. So for them to be legal signs, they would have to be brought up to standard. So instead of, it's basically a double-sized sign to make it more visible. And then I was just suggesting the additional 2 signs to make people more aware that this is not a safe spot for them to be parking, that there are safer spots outside of the no parking area that's already been established there.
Which is where? Where's the safe parking area there? I mean, I think we have to have a discussion as a council.
There's already signs that have been put up there years ago. They've been up there for, I don't know, 6, 8 years now. One of them be up across from Bennett's driveway, approximately, between Bennett's driveway and the other driveway. Because it's a blind corner coming around there. If you came over that, coming from the west going east, you wouldn't see vehicles parked down there because of the curvature of the road and the elevation drop. And then the other one is, I don't know, somewhere across around Dorval's driveway on the other side. And any bridge, according to what I've read in the Highway Traffic Act so far, is no parking within 100 meters of either end of the bridge. So the actual no parking signs that are there could even be moved further back. But given that Chris felt that those were in a safe area, and this was an area that the public liked to access the creek at, I figured there was no point in extending that further out to allow a bit of grace for people so they're not walking as far to get to the creek.
I'm just wanting to look at other solutions to the parking area there, like perhaps reducing the speed limit and perhaps wider shoulders. The road could be a bit wider there perhaps, so there is area to park. I think that there could be some solutions there rather than just signs saying that you can't park in this area. And I think we have to have that discussion as a council of how to deal with that issue, if it is an issue at all, the parking issue there. But currently, before we put this filling station in, people were able to drive off the road and to go down in that area to get off the road. So there was already some existing parking, informal, but there was space there that people could get off the road. So now we're basically saying you can't get off the road and you can't park on the road, and you have to park up the hill or somewhere else, which is, I think we need to have a discussion about this.
Yeah, I was just basing this recommendation to council off the no parking bylaw that they had passed last year.
Okay.
Okay, so we need to determine if we're going to go ahead with the signs. It doesn't sound like it right now. But I'd like to get everyone's opinion on that. If the signs are, the ones that are existing are of sufficient size and visibility, or I know there's a legal issue as well that Jacob's stating about the signs are undersized for the speed limit in that area. But I think what we need to just determine tonight is if we're going to wait a little bit to and discuss that during a meeting, where we can think about it ahead of time, or give Jacob the directive to proceed. So Sandy, I'd like to get your ideas on that, please.
Well, I would like to definitely, if the signs are too small, they should be what they're supposed to be legally. Because I'd hate to think that we would have some sort of accident there and they use that as an excuse for a lawsuit. Maybe this could also be discussed in the ad hoc committee. I'm not 100% sure. But if we need the signs, I'm fine with going ahead with it.
Okay, thank you. That's another question too. Are the signs there because of the swimming hole or for another reason? Heather, do you have anything you want to add?
I do. For the extra staff, how are we funding it? That we already did our budget and we didn't fund for extra students as well. For the signage down at the filling station, we had asked for no fire signs and everything down there. I thought that that's what these signs were referring to. Not. We still have that paper printout that Jacob made last year when we asked for no burning signs and stuff, no garbage or littering. Are those up the signs ordered? That's what I was, and I would rather a pro parking spot than a no parking sign and lower speed limits. So I think it requires further discussion.
Okay, so to address the student, council never pulled any students from the landfill. So we budgeted 4 student hours, the normal student hours in the landfill, but took into account any reduction in hours because of time off taken because of COVID. So it doesn't affect the budget at all with the student being back. Or, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought there. What was your second question?
Oh, the no burning sign that we were supposed to put down there. That was the concerns from residents last year.
No burning sign. I've left that until the ad hoc committee makes any decisions on the swimming hole. The only reason that I brought forth the parking signs to council is because this was a bylaw that was passed last summer. So I figured it was time that we should start to pick some areas and start to sign them according to the bylaw that council passed last year. These were items that were put in the budget and also discussed during the budget process.
We discussed the parking down at the lake.
We discussed the sign.
I think, yeah, this is probably an ad hoc committee discussion for the bridge. That's my opinion, but thank you. Yes.
I'm not sure if I remember correctly, but I think the no burning sign was after a meeting we had one day at the hall. We asked for, and I believe, I don't know if, who was present, if that gentleman and Roseanne were there that night.
Yes, they were. Yep.
We asked Jacob to put up a laminated sign down there until we could get a committee going and establish what we wanted to do. But I don't think we, maybe Cindy would be able to tell us, if we actually instructed anyone to have signs created, other than that laminated one. Are you aware of that, Cindy?
That's correct. We aired the laminated one and it was posted last year, but we haven't budgeted for or made any permanent signs for that area. It was a discussion that was supposed to take place with the ad hoc committee and whether or not we're going forward with the public access.
Thank you. Anything further, Heather?
No, thank you. No, that's good.
Dean, do you have anything you'd like to add?
Yes. Sorry. I have a quick comment about the Smith Lake boat launch, and have we sold any? Is anybody interested in those seasonal spots up to this point?
Cindy, do you want to take this one? I don't know of anybody that's done anything there yet, but Cindy might know more.
No, there was one interest last year, but they haven't come forward this year to ask about a permit.
Okay. I think there's maybe 4 spots there, something like that. I think is what we had hoped, that we could get 4 spots, 1 for each property. I just want to make a suggestion that we only sign maybe 1 or 2 of those spots. If no one's, they're not going to, if they're not buying the permit that we made available, then other people could also park in some of those spots. When it comes to all the money, the money, for the money was budgeted, we budgeted for it, and it brings us up to par. It kind of comes as a surprise to me, but I think, I think that further discussion is a good thing. Sorry guys. But I do support it being set up right. What I don't want to happen is us to buy the signs and then we change something. We end up with, as long as they're not wasted, I guess. For example, we change something or we do something. We just want to make sure we can reuse them somewhere else. I think we probably could. So I'm not necessarily opposed. And when it comes to the fire truck filling station, I just like the idea of having a hydrant myself. I think that really clues people in, a hydrant sign. It's a place where we're going to fill trucks, so don't walk away from your car, kind of thing. And I think that's pretty sufficient myself.
Okay, thanks, Dean. We didn't really come to a decision there, an instruction for Jacob and how to proceed. Everybody had similar views with some few little differences. So what I'd like to suggest is bring this forth at our next regular council meeting as a resolution to proceed. And we'll vote on it at that time, and if we decide to proceed, we will, and if we don't, we don't. Does that sound reasonable with everyone? Sandy?
Yes, it does.
Dan?
The only thing I'd like to consider is lowering the speed limit at that bridge. It's a very sharp corner already, and that would probably eliminate the need to have large oversized signs if the speed limit was lowered. So it might be easier to lower the speed limit than to buy new signs. It's the only consideration I'd like to have considered.
Yeah, we need to do some investigation on how to do that too, right? Like to lower the speed limit. I don't know what would be involved. Maybe Chris might know, but maybe he can let us know that evening as well. Which would be the easiest, the most appropriate thing to do for that piece of Peddler's Drive. Heather, do you agree?
I 100% agree.
Yeah?
Yes, I 100% agree. I think that we should wait, and I like Dan's idea of lowering the speed limit.
Okay. And Dean, anything further?
No, I agree with the suggestion, Mayor Pennell.
Okay, thank you. So Cindy, can you bring something forth at the next meeting where we decide if we want to proceed with signage for the no parking or to lower the speed limit in that area? I think probably Chris needs to be involved to do some research on what would be involved to reduce the speed limit in that area. And I think Jacob already has his information, but at the discussion we have at the next council meeting, it might be represented so that we're all aware of it. So if you could do that, please, Cindy.
Absolutely.
If
Thank
I
you.
may, Mayor Pennell, would we be able to do that for the first meeting in August instead of the last meeting in June, as I know Chris is out doing ditching right now?
Okay.
It might allow for us to have to find a bit of time if they have downtime to discuss it and get all the information together a bit more easily than pulling him off of the ditching right now.
Okay. That sounds reasonable to me. Is that okay with you, Sandy? First meeting in August?
Yes, that's fine.
Dan?
Yes.
Heather? And Dean?
Yes.
Okay, thanks, everyone. So we can do that first meeting in August, please, Cindy.
Okay, thank you.
And thanks, Jacob, for your report. Next item on the agenda is a report from the chief building official. It's a written report. And that was in our council package. Looks like there's 5 permits issued. I didn't understand if that was 5 in June or 5 so far this year.
5 in June.
5 in June? That's pretty good, right? We got a pretty fair-sized garage there, and then some decks and lean-tos. That's good. Any questions on that report, Sandy?
No.
Dan?
No questions.
Anything from you, Heather?
What happens if the permit's not picked up or paid for? Like, does it just negate it, or?
What happened to what?
If it says it's the permit's not been picked up or paid for, does it just negate it, or do we follow up and say they went ahead and did it anyway? Like, I don't know. It just seems. Do you see at the bottom there? Permit 13?
Yeah, 13/2020.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what would happen there.
Yeah, I
I
don't
would
Permit is
think,
valid. I would
Pardon
imagine that the permit would not be valid if the person prepared it. If didn't pay for it, excuse me. So it wouldn't be valid. So it would essentially be that he or she didn't get a permit.
Okay.
anything else, Heather?
No, thank you. No, that's good.
Dean?
Just a quick comment. I'd like to think that we might see more development in the coming years. Real estate is actually ticking up right now, and I think people are trying to a lot of people actually want to get out of urban areas into rural areas. So I think that this is promising, and we might see some more development the next few years. I'm happy.
Yeah, we could hope for that. Okay, thanks, everyone. Next item up on the agenda is a report from committees, and we don't have any. So the next item after that is action letters. And the first item there is to adopt the minutes of the regular council meeting held on Tuesday, June 23rd, 2020. So I need a mover for this. Sandy, can you move the first one?
Yes, I can.
And Dan, would you be able to second that?
Yes.
Thank you. So we have a resolution moved by Sandy and seconded by Dan that the minutes of the regular meeting of council held on Tuesday, June the 23rd, 2020 be hereby adopted and signed as circulated. Any discussion? Sandy, do you have anything you'd like to discuss?
No, it all looks fine.
Dan?
No discussion.
Heather?
No discussion.
Dean?
No discussion.
None from me either, so this resolution is carried. Thank
Okay,
you.
take a vote, sorry.
We have to
Oh,
vote.
we have to vote. Sorry. Keep forgetting about the votes. Councilor Cross, do you vote yea or nay?
Yay.
Councillor Maxwell,
Yes.
Councillor Olmsted,
Yes.
Councillor Grant,
Yes.
and I vote yay as well. Thank you. Now it's carried. Thanks very much. So the next item on the agenda is a resolution to adopt the minutes of Tuesday, June 29th, special council meeting. So I need a mover for this as well. Heather, would you be able to move this one?
Yes, I will.
And Dean, would you be able to second it?
Yes.
Thank you. So we have a resolution in front of us, moved by Heather and seconded by Dean, that the minutes of the special meeting of the council held on Monday, June the 29th, 2020, be hereby adopted and signed as circulated. Any discussion? Sandy?
Not at this time.
Dan?
No discussion.
Heather?
No discussion.
And Dean?
No discussion.
Do you vote to accept this, Sandy?
Yes. Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Heather?
Yes.
And Dean?
Yes.
And I do as well. So this resolution is carried. Thank you very much. So next item on the agenda is bylaw number 2020-015. It's a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council for first quarter of 2020 from April the 1st, 2020 to June the 30th, 2020. Okay, so I need a mover for the first reading. So Sandy, could you move the first reading?
Yes, I can.
And Dan, could you move the second reading?
Yes.
No, the first. Could you second
I
the
can
first
second it.
reading?
Yes, I can.
Great.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So this is a bylaw confirming the proceeding of the council to be received and read a first time. So you are in favor, Sandy?
Yes.
Are you in favor, Dan?
Yes.
Heather?
I'd like some discussion on it.
Okay.
I just have a couple questions.
Okay, go for it.
Okay, so I just wonder why this is necessary, because don't our bylaws always stand? So I read it's a bylaw to enforce bylaws. Doesn't that make it redundant?
I know this is done every year.
Yeah.
It might be an impact thing, I'm not sure. Cindy? Would you be able to enlighten us?
Previously, it had been done twice a year in the past, but based on information that I've received from lawyers, our integrity commissioner, other clerks, other people that have provided training in the municipal field, they actually recommend that we do it after every meeting. I thought that was too much, especially considering we were only doing it twice a year before. So I opted to try to start doing it quarterly instead.
So I understand that, but isn't this just a bylaw to say that we're going to enforce our bylaws? In essence?
It's confirming all of the decisions that were made, resolutions, bylaws, all the decisions that were made within this time frame, from April 1st to June 30th.
So we're just backing up. Yes, we did this. Yes, we're enforcing it.
Yes, correct.
Essentially. Okay. Yep. That's all I wanted to confirm. I didn't want to cause any trouble. I just wanted. Okay. So I'm yay.
Okay, thank you. Dean?
Yes.
Would you like any discussion on it?
Nope, I'm gonna vote yes.
No? Okay, so, I'll vote yes as well. So the first reading is, moved by Sandy, second by Dean, and, did we vote on that? Yes, eh? So that one's carried?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. The second one, I need a mover and a seconder on that one as well. Heather, would you be able to move that one?
Yes, I would.
Thank you. And Dean, would you be able to second that one?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So this is the second reading of the bylaw to confirm the proceeding of the council. And I don't think there's further discussion, but I'll ask. Sandy, do you have anything you wish to discuss?
No.
Dan?
I just like to, I think it's a good idea that we do this. It gives us a chance to look back, kind of like the Senate, House of Senate, looking back on something we passed. So I like the idea that we can go back if there was a problem, we can bring it up now. If anything in the last 3 months. I like the fact that we do this.
Okay. Thank you for that. Anything else?
No, I vote yes.
Okay. Heather?
No, I'm good.
Okay, any discussion, Dean?
Nope.
Okay, so I need votes. Do you accept this, Sandy?
Yes.
Yea or nay?
Yay.
Councillor Math?
Yes.
Councillor Olmsted?
Yes.
And Councillor Grant? Thank you. Councillor Pennell agrees as well. So the second reading, moved by Heather, second by Dean, is hereby carried. Thank you very much. So we're going to do all three readings tonight, or proceedings. I'll get a mover for this one. Sandy, can you move this, the third reading, please?
I thought we weren't gonna do 3 readings in one meeting.
Okay,
This isn't something that, I don't think this is something that is urgent, so I think we should defer the third reading to the next meeting. Sorry.
okay, we can do that.
Oh, thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, so the next item on the agenda is bylaw 2020-16. And it's to amend the bylaw number 2020-11, protocol for best practice for electronic meetings to include live streaming of the meetings. I believe the only thing that's added there is that one paragraph that was italicized, number 8 under schedule and participation. It said that all regular and special council meetings, including closed portions of these meetings, if any, will be live streamed, excluding closed portions of these meetings, if any, will be live streamed from Zoom to YouTube, where the public can view the meetings for up to 18 months after the meeting is in place. So this is a bylaw, okay? So I need a mover and a seconder for the first reading. Sandy, can you move the first reading?
Yes, I can.
And Dan, can you second it?
Yes.
Thank you. So this is being a bylaw to amend the bylaw 2020-11, which is a bylaw to adopt the protocol and best practice for electronic meetings for the municipality of Calgary. Any discussion, Sandy?
No.
Dan?
No discussion.
Heather?
No discussion.
And Dean?
No discussion.
Okay, thank you. So we need a vote. Sandy, do you vote to accept this? Yay or nay?
Yes. Yay.
Councillor Maxwell? Yay or nay?
Yes.
Councillor Olmsted?
Yes.
And Councillor Grant?
Yes.
I vote same. Yay. Thank you. So the first reading is carried. Thank you very much. I need a mover and a seconder for the second reading. Heather, could you move the second reading, please?
Yes, I will.
And Dean, could you second the
Yeah.
second reading, please? Is that a yes?
Yes.
Thank you. So, is there any discussion on the second reading? Sandy?
No.
Dan?
I was, no discussion. I had some thoughts, okay, I had some thoughts in my mind about, the 18 months, being kept on record for 18 months. Can this be used by the public and be posted on social media, for example, sections of our meetings? For example, I'm just curious about, as you get close to election and snippets of our meetings can be put up on social media as a, I mean, I'm just trying to foresee any possible abuse of what we're doing here. And is it, can our meetings be shared, you know, on social media by the public? It's a question I was wondering about. Can somebody record it and repost it, little snippets, little, what do you call that? Sound bites.
I know they're public meetings, so I would think that they could be shared as long as they were shared accurately. If someone chose to make changes or alter what was said or how it was said, then I don't think that would be legal, and there would probably be grounds there for some criminal activity. But I'm only a layman here. I don't know, Cindy, do you have any information on that?
I would have a tendency to agree with you as well, that if there was any alteration done, then yes, there would be legal grounds, but as well, I'm not a lawyer. I would have to check that out with our solicitor.
Would you wish us to do that, Councillor Maxwell?
I think it's okay. It's a precautionary that this one, we'll have to, I think we'll deal with it when it actually happens, maybe if it happens at all. But
Okay, thank you.
something that could happen. I guess we're not sort of American style politics around here that we wouldn't do that. But you never know what could happen these days.
That's true, yeah, anything can happen. Heather, any discussion?
No, that's good.
And Dean, anything from you?
No, I think it's a good step forward. I'm welcoming this in our regular meetings. We'll go back in some format. Obviously, another discussion for another day. I'm good. I support it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so now I need to vote to accept this. Councillor Cross, do you vote yea or nay?
Yay.
And Councillor Maxwell?
Yes.
Councillor Olmsted?
Yay.
And Councillor Grant?
Yes.
And I vote yea as well, so this second reading is carried. I'm assuming everyone wants to bring a third reading back to council at the next meeting, similar to the last. Is that correct, Sandy?
Yes.
Dan?
It doesn't matter to me, but I'll say yes, just because I know two councillors prefer it that way, so.
Okay, thank you. Heather, yes?
Yes.
Okay, and Dean?
Three's majority, but yeah, definitely bring it back for the third reading.
Okay, great, thank you. So can we bring this back at the next meeting, Cindy, for the final reading?
Absolutely.
Okay. Excuse me. Next item on the agenda is the Municipality of Calvin COVID-19 questionnaires, council, employee daily and workplace visitor. At the and this is included in our council package. At the last council meeting, I said that I would contact the health authority and ask them for their input. I did, and told I would have an answer back within 3 days, but I haven't had an answer back yet. And I sent an additional email, and I haven't got an answer back on that one either. So I don't really have any educated material or information to present to you, and I apologize for that. But there was a couple changes made to the document, okay? And did everyone have a chance to look at? I need a mover and a seconder for this before we proceed, though. Sandy, so I have a resolution that council has received and reviewed the COVID-19 council questionnaire, employee daily questionnaire, and the workplace visit questionnaire, and hereby authorize that these questionnaires be used as presented. So I have a resolution in front of me. Sandy, can you move this resolution?
No, I can't.
No, you can't? Okay.
No.
Dan, can you move this resolution?
Okay. Yes, I
Thank
can.
you. Heather, can you second it?
I can second it.
Yeah?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, so I've read the resolution. Now it's open for discussion. Sandy, you have anything you'd like to say?
Well, the reason why I didn't want to move it is because I don't agree with the one change. The first change I'm fine with, but the second change of saying that the province, I prefer the district. I want to know if somebody has been in Toronto or Windsor where they're not opening up the third stage because there's so much of COVID there. I want to be able to have all the information. I just feel fairly strongly about that.
Okay.
If I'm going to be sitting in the same room with somebody, even if I'm 6 feet apart, I want to know if they were in Toronto within 14 days.
Anything else?
No, that's it.
Dan?
I have a problem with 5, 6, 7, 8 of the questionnaire. There's three those questions that even with the province, I'd just like to know what the implications are of somebody, especially with employees, if they answer no to any of these questions. Does that mean that they're off for 2 weeks, that they have to go home and quarantine? Because if someone does a beer run to Temiskaming on the weekend, or somebody in their house did, basically they have to answer yes to one of these questions. And what are the implications of that yes? Does that automatically mean that they don't come to work? That's one question I need to know an answer to. And others, I think that those 5, 6, 7, 8. Well, for one thing, the 6 says province, but 8 says district, which probably should have been both changed to province if we're going to go with province as the area you traveled out of. And because someone in your house can't travel out of the district, but you can't travel out of the province right now, as it reads. The province is easy going across the Ottawa River. That's your out of the province. And I think we're assuming that airlines and cruise ships are automatically carriers of this thing. And it was initially when the virus started, but now that they've taken all necessary precautions. So to me, I want to know if you've been exposed to, if you've taken any risks, and just the assumption that these areas are risky. I'm not sure if that's accurate. So I have some problems with those 4 questions. So I can't support it because of those 4 questions. I need some clarification on what are the ramifications of this if you answer no to any of these questions.
Well,
So
it's kind of for us to determine what the ramifications are, right?
I'm just curious what the daily work, this is a daily fit to work for the employees. So obviously that fills out every day if it's a daily sheet. And so we're not there to make any judgment, to make any calls on that. So we have to know in advance what the ramifications are if there's a no answer to any of these questions. So I don't know, it's a bit of either asking them to lie or asking them to not leave the province, to not leave the district, to not take a cruise, to not go on an airplane, or anybody in their family, which is like an unrealistic something to ask of our employees, I think.
So I just want to clarify, I don't want to argue with you.
Sure.
We had a similar discussion in the last meeting. So if someone in your house, okay, your son, your daughter, whatever, has in contact with someone who does have COVID-19, and then to your home where they reside, and meets with you and sits beside you at the table or whatever, and you're subjected to that virus, then are you saying that you feel it's okay for you to come into work and possibly infect other people?
No, I would have to know that he's been subjected to the virus, not that even out of the province. For example, my son this weekend did a beer run to Temiskaming. I know, probably shouldn't say that, but there's a lot of people do that. And so I don't think that he's any more contagious than he was before he did this, because he wore a mask when he was there, and he went to an area that was not, has 0 cases of the virus right now. So he's not any more susceptible than he was the day before he went. But if I was a potential employee, I'd have to come in and say, oh, yes, a member of my family did leave the province, so I need 2 weeks off with pay. Thank you. I'll see you in 2 weeks. Like, it seems like, I don't know.
Okay. We do have to, I'm trying to be a devil's advocate here.
Sure.
I don't know about the province and the district as well, but I think we have to make every effort that we can to protect the people who are working for us. And I'm thinking that most of the employees who are working for us would rather not be subjected to the virus by another employee or by a visitor at the either the garage or the community center or the office area. So I'm not understanding if you think it's an infringement on our employees' rights to subject them to this, okay, or what the problem is. If the employees thought this was a good idea, would you support it?
The employees? Sure. Yeah. Well, no, I don't support it because it has to be, for one thing, at the workplace there should be taken precautions so that you're not coming within close distance from each other. So you're either wearing a mask if you're in close range, or you're social distancing. So there's already precautions put in place there. So I don't understand why there'd be a higher risk if with those areas. It seems like it's a little bit too much to give employees 2 weeks off because they may have had someone in their family that may have been out of the province and not necessarily in a high risk area, but just left the province or the district even. They could have done something, gone camping somewhere, gone camping on the Ottawa River or something like that, and they've got to answer yes to that no to that question, that answer. So it's not always the description of the activity does not always mean high risk automatically. Like cruise ships were a problem in the beginning, but now I don't think that's really an issue anymore. No one's going on cruise ships. But sometimes people do have to fly for a reason, and you still take all the necessary precautions on the airplane. You're still wearing a mask all the time. You're using hand sanitizer. You're using all of the activities. So it's kind of like if you've taken unnecessary risks, then yes, maybe you should be quarantining. Or I'm just curious if this sheet automatic. It's very easy to have to click one of these notes here with the questions right now. And if we had to send our employees home 2 weeks every time they click one of these no's, I think that they could be off a lot. And that's my point. I'd like to hear other councillors feel.
We haven't determined we're going to send that employee home for 2 weeks, though, right? So
that's what I need to know.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So Heather, your thoughts, please.
This would have been a very useful tool 19 weeks ago. We're in stage 3 on Friday, which means groups of 50 can congregate inside. We can't control 50 people. We as individuals have to be safe. We have to protect ourselves. So our employees have been working safely all this time, practicing good judgment. They don't want to make their co-workers sick. They don't want their families sick. I trust that the individuals that I know are going to keep me and everyone around them safe. That's why we are in stage 3. We're not in stage 2 like down south or, down in Windsor. And as long as that border stays closed, that's another story. But I think this is redundant at this point. I would have loved this tool 4 months ago, but I think this is too little too late.
Okay, thank you. Dean, your thoughts?
Yes. Okay, I just want to run through. So I spent a lot of time on the about researching COVID today, and I was on the health unit's website. And I just want to lay out a couple facts before I explain myself. Nipissing District has a total of 24 cases over 4 months. And we have 1 active case, and we've had 1 death. Sorry, that is North Bay. It's not including Perry Sound. Perry Sound numbers bring it up a bit. So when I talk about North Bay, 24 North Bay, Mattawa, Temagami, this area, 24 total cases, 1 death, and 1 case right now. I believe the risk is low, and I think that this checklist is fantastic if the risk greatly increases. I believe as leaders, it's up to us to determine. We have discussions and we determine what's reasonable, right? And there's no right or wrong answer, and I don't think that 100% safety is at all achievable ever. There's always risk. I like Heather's comments. I think that as an employer, we absolutely should be providing. I think we are. I think we should be providing and make sure we're providing proper PPE so people can protect themselves. I do support the questionnaire, but it should be very simple. Do you feel ill, or do you have belief that you have COVID? Please explain, and we can make determination based on that. The questionnaire is way too open-ended. It's way too encompassing. I don't even want to. I went through it last time, but very broad questions about people in your household. It doesn't mean that you're at a higher risk. And I'll give one example. We have to think about this and think what's happening. I think precautions work. I think social distancing, masks, gloves, these things work. A month ago, or there was a huge protest in North Bay, and I was told there's thousands. I don't know how many people there, but lots of people in the street protesting, and I heard everyone was courteous, and I wasn't there, and we've seen no wave or no spike. So Corona is real. However, it's not here. It's not very prevalent right now, right here. This checklist for me is something that we should absolutely implement if the virus spikes. Let's say like in Texas or Wuhan or any of these. Even Toronto has more cases than us. So I want to pursue stage 3. I think it's great discussions to have. I don't think the checklist is useful. And I guess that's my comments for now.
So you said you didn't want to proceed, is that correct?
I just don't, this checklist is far too open-ended. A lot of these things are beyond a person's control of what their individuals in their household are doing. And I don't think that.
Okay, I think everybody's had a shot there.
Just like to say one thing more, if possible. There's been a number of people that have told me, and I've witnessed myself, that in Mattawa, there is quite a few people who aren't from this area. There's BC plates, there's Alberta plates. A lot of people are buying property up here right now that are trying to get out of the cities. So even though we don't have the cases as of North Bay, as people who live in the north up here, there are a lot of people from down south coming up here. So they could be possibly carrying the virus themselves, which could potentially infect any of us. Not that I want to be a fear monger in any way, but I also think that our staff are our frontline workers. And if they feel that they want this questionnaire for their safety, I think they should have a say in it as well. It shouldn't just be council making that decision on whether or not that we should have this form in place or not, because it's not just them. I mean, all of our staff have family that probably have an issue that can't get COVID, or they have children in their house, or they have, asthma or something. So I think it should also be up to them whether or not this questionnaire is relevant. Just wanted to say that. That's all.
Okay, thank you. I know, like, even if you go to the hospital, they ask you questions. I had to go for a CAT scan last week, and it was like you come up to the door and you meet a nurse at the door, and they take your temperature, and they ask you if you've been out of the country. They ask you if you've had a fever. Have you had contact, with anyone who has COVID? I can't remember all the questions they asked, but they were a little more definite than these ones. So I understand how you might think that they're open-ended. They're not definite enough. But I do think we need to have something. I'm not sure about the employees back and forth with one another. Hopefully they would be courteous enough or be professional enough that they wouldn't come to work if they were ill. But I definitely think that we need someone for a resident or a visitor coming into the office before they get to come in and stay there for any length of time. I don't really know where to go from here.
Well, I think we can cover that in best practices, though.
Say what?
We could probably cover that in best practices further on in the agenda. We're going to go through as a employer how we can go through with best practices and what we think, what measures we can put in place there.
Yeah.
And Mayor Pennell too, if I may.
Go ahead.
I just think it'll be a useful comment. I absolutely support those three questions you just brought up as well. Have you left the country? Do you have symptoms of COVID? Do you feel ill? And do you have reason to believe that you're likely to have COVID or come in contact with COVID? I think those are great questions. I think we need I just support a simpler, more defined questionnaire. And I think that being that our workplace is small, being that, I think we all get along well, that, common sense will prevail, so to speak. And if someone has an issue, I think they'll make that known, like you mentioned. I worry that it's just way too open-ended, that original questionnaire. But I do support the questionnaire.
Okay. Thank you for that. But there's also other concerns as well, like Councillor Maxwell has a concern that I think it was employee-based though. If an employee comes to work and had any of these symptoms, what would happen? Would they have to go home for 2 weeks? I'm not sure what the answer to that is. I know if you go have a test, you can get your results back in like 2 days, but you can't have a test the same day, right? You have to kind of make an appointment for that. So it wouldn't be 2 weeks, but it would be more than just a couple days. So again, I don't know what to do with this one. It doesn't sound like anybody's in favor of it. But again, Heather mentioned we have something coming up a little farther on that's going to talk about reopening and what we think should happen at that time. I think we kind of have to, until we can come up with a questionnaire that people are going to agree with, we have to defer. But at the same note, I think we're putting our employees at some kind of a risk. Although they should all be professional and courteous and care about one another, and getting somebody sick. And there's no one here. Well, I don't know, Cindy, you feel comfortable in explaining what the goals of the staff are with these questionnaires, or is that putting you on the spot?
No, there's a couple of reasons. The questionnaire for employees is so that we have a record. Essentially, again, a solicitor has recommended that if you don't have a paper record of it, it didn't happen. So if there ever was a case here for whatever reason, in order to protect the municipality, we would just have a record of the fact that employees have filled out the questionnaire. And just a little further to comment a little bit on Councillor Maxwell's concerns, it wouldn't necessarily be an automatic leave us home for 2 weeks. I trust my staff would not abuse the privilege of making something up about COVID-19 or answering the question no or anything like that. But further to that, we would investigate further. If someone answered yes or no to one of these questions, depending on what the question is, and I would further query with them. Well, if you were out of the district, what were you doing? Did you go camping? Were you in downtown Toronto? What exactly were you doing? And we would make decisions based upon that, based on what they were doing, what the risk factor was, whether they were feeling symptoms of it, all those different types of things. And then we would probably, determine if they were high risk, that it would probably be a good idea for them to go get a test. And as you mentioned, you can get a response back within a couple of days, 2-3 days, and, then we would know for sure whether or not they had COVID, and then we would take it from there. So in terms of that, that's for the work employee questionnaire. And that pretty much covers the council questionnaire as well. The other one for the workplace visitor, whether it's someone from the outside, the public is the public. They're not necessarily people from this area. They could be from anywhere. So again, in order to protect our employees, we would like to know where people have been, where they're from, in order to take the appropriate precautions to make sure, and again, have a record of the fact that someone was in here who, say, was from the Toronto area or, a high infection area, Windsor, wherever, those types of things. It's all about the record keeping. If you read the Phase 3 report that the government put together for reopening, they have indicated that it's a very good idea for us to keep records of who has entered our building, what they were doing, who they interacted with, those types of things. So these questionnaires are just a way for us to get some of that information and to track in the event that someone does get COVID. Then it also helps people, the health unit people, contact the appropriate people to let them know that they've been in contact with someone, et cetera. So it's there are a multitude of reasons why these questionnaires are important. They can be incorporated into the reopening plan as well. They can be, this was just a starting point. These were questionnaires that were put together by our integrity commissioner, the company E4M. If we want to make them simple, that's our prerogative. There was no cost to this. The E4M just provided them to us at no charge. They're just trying to help the municipalities that they work with out as much as they can. So, you know, we can make them shorter, we can make them more direct, we can make them more detailed. It's up to council. I made the slight changes to these based on the conversation that council had last week. But, you know, I can alter them again based on how council wants to see them, if they want them shortened, if they want them more direct, all that sort of thing.
I think, at least what Councillor Grant suggested was that we try to define the questions a little bit, and to maybe ask similar questions to what hospitals or nursing homes or that type of establishment is asking all visitors who come through the door. Actually, there's signs on a lot of those doors that says that if you have, you know, did A or B or exhibit this or this, you're not welcome. Okay, like go away. And we could do something similar to that as well. So I'm going to jump out on the branch here and make a suggestion that we define the questions and bring them back again at maybe the next council meeting. To questions something similar to that are asked at hospitals or nursing places, that sort of thing. And I'm just going to ask for your opinions if I'm on the right track or not. So Sandy, what's your thought on that?
The only issue I had was just the thing with this district instead of province. I would have preferred that. I like the idea of the questions. I think the sooner we do it, the sooner we can decide how much we're going to be opening up. So, but if everybody wants to have them more defined and not open-ended, I guess we can narrow it down.
So you agree to that then?
Yes.
Okay. Dan, I'm not sure if Cindy answered your questions regarding what would happen to an employee if they answered yes or no to any of these questions. But would you be willing to have the questions defined a little bit and bring it back to our next council meeting?
Yes, I would be. As I stated in my first, I'm in favor of the questionnaire, and I'm okay with 1, 2, 3, and 8, 9, 10. Those are very direct questions. And I thank you, Cindy, for that explanation. It makes a lot more sense like that. Now that I see it's just, it takes to the next step, doesn't necessarily have an automatic penalty attached to the, if you answer no, it brings further investigation. So that's a lot clearer, and that makes more sense to me, the way it's approached like that. Yeah, so yeah, just yes, I am in favor of that.
Okay, thank you. Heather, your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm in favor of a direct conversation, and visitors, we can still have the office be open by appointment only, and we can do screening questions over the phone, and we can have a time when they're coming. You're to wear a mask, and you have your only visitor with the building permit. Like, I mean, it could be very controlled.
Forward. That's another item on the agenda farther on.
Yeah, but I mean, it's included in our questionnaire. It's the workplace visitor questionnaire, which, you know, Cindy alluded to as well. It's on the same package, so it's kind of double-ended. But yes, I agree.
Thank you. And Dean?
Yeah, I mean, I really want to get a questionnaire in place. I want to move to stage 3, and I want to do it safely. So I'd support coming back with a simpler, more direct questionnaire. I like the examples that you gave, and you know, yeah, I support that.
Okay, thank you. So Cindy, can you come back at next meeting with maybe reword or construct the questions so that they're more closed?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so we'll defer this until July the 28th meeting. So I need a vote to do that. Sandy, do you vote yay or nay?
Yay.
And Dan, yay or nay?
We're voting on this, the
We're
coach.
going to
Is there
defer
for
it
it?
until the 28th meeting, at which time Cindy's going to come back with a different type of question.
Okay,
And
type in vote for referral. Okay. Okay, yes. Thanks.
Yes.
She just typed in vote
Thank
for
you.
referral.
okay, and Heather,
Yes,
yay or nay?
yes,
Yay. Thank you. And
Yes.
Dean, I believe you're yay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I vote yay as well. So we'll defer this until July 28th. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the Municipal of Calvin Road Use Agreement Acknowledgement. So everyone's had a chance to go through this again. There was a letter, was there a letter in there? There was an item talked about insurance. Did everybody have a chance to read that? My understanding of that letter was it's probably a benefit to have insurance for the for the individual, the resident that's taking out the agreement. And if anything happened, then it's a first line of defense for the municipality. But I don't see it now. Oh, there it is there. It's in the letter. But it sounded like in some instances insurance didn't really matter. Right? Maybe I misinterpreted, but I read it twice, and that was the same idea I got out both times. Can you explain it differently, Cindy? Or did I interpret it correctly?
You interpret it correctly. Essentially, Councillor Olmsted had mentioned last meeting that we would probably be named if something happened.
Yes.
And that is essentially saying that in here. So we're not going to be completely absolved if something happens, but if the person has insurance, then, you know, they would also take part of the responsibility as well as us. So it all depends on the circumstances. It may be of a benefit, it may not. In most cases, the municipality is probably going to be named and if and when there's a lawsuit regardless.
Okay.
But it affects the municipality to a certain degree in that the personal insurance would be used, and then the municipality's insurance would be, you know,
Yeah.
used as well.
Okay.
So
Okay, thank you. Can I get a mover and seconder on this so we can discuss it further? We're supposed to move it and second it before we discuss it. So Heather, would you be able to move
Yes.
this resolution?
yes, I will.
Thank you. And Dean, would you be able to second that one?
Sure, yes.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Heather, as well. Okay, so I hope everyone's had a chance to go through it and read the letter from Mr. Christie. And I'll ask if there's any discussion on anything that they read, or Sandy, do you have anything that you'd like to present to the rest of us?
You read it, I read it the same way you did. So my only question is it important to have at least a little, make sure they have some insurance so that it's not all just on us? Because if they don't have insurance at all, then it is just on us, I think. So maybe, 5 million might be too much, but we should have them have at least $1 million liability. It's not that more expensive for a year. At least if something happens, they'll get the money from them first before they come to us, is the way I look at it. So that's my thoughts.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Maxwell.
Yes, how I interpreted the letter was similar. He stated that there was very little risk to the situation in the first place. He also says at the end, it has limited value, which was kind of an interesting final sentence. That having the insurance is limited value. And in the first paragraph, he also says that he found that it was difficult for the licensee to obtain the insurance. So sometimes the insurers didn't want to give it out for some reason. So if you're asking for $1 million or $5 million, there's probably a difficulty in obtaining the insurance in the first place. I'm not sure what it would be, but it's probably not too complicated for most insurance companies, and they just don't want to touch it. So I think we should go ahead with the policy with take the insurance section out, or rewrite the insurance section so that it's worded differently.
I'm trying to find that, what you just said. From what I thought it was, if it was difficult to get an insurance company to insure the road, but I can't see it.
Prior to that, it was in the second line of the first paragraph. I have in the past on a number of road use agreements.
Right. Yeah.
Mayor Pennell, can I just comment on that?
Yes, please.
Your assessment is correct. It's difficult to get insurance on the road because the property owner does not own the road, the municipality does.
Which was my position. So can we get a better coverage?
What we're outlining in this road agreement is not coverage on the road because it's difficult to obtain. What we're outlining is people having coverage on the vehicle they're using to clear the road.
Okay.
Yeah, clear and maintain.
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
Heather?
Well, I agree with Dan. Everybody's supposed to have insurance on their vehicles if they're on the road. I don't think it should be. I would assume that if you're on the road with a it would be insured. I don't think that we can police those people. I don't know who's going to go and check in 6 months to see if they're going to have insurance on that vehicle that they said they had insurance on a year ago. We don't know. But like I said, it's entirely, we can put whatever we want, but I think we should take the insurance obligation out and put it on us. My opinion.
So I just want to understand, so we remove the insurance requirement and we accept all the liability as a municipality?
No.
No?
We assume that if you're on the road with a vehicle, everybody on the road with a vehicle has insurance on it. If they don't have insurance on it, they get charged under the penal code. Like it's jail time. It's not just a fine anymore. So we're to assume if you have a vehicle and it's on the road, that it's insured.
My thing, you're assuming that could be a vehicle of like a truck or a car. What if it's a tractor? There are people
And it's on the
that
road,
have
it's
tractors
insured.
that don't have automobiles.
If it's on the road, it has to be insured.
Well, and that's what we're asking them to do.
Yeah, but who's going to enforce it?
Well, they would
That's
have
my
to
problem.
Yeah, well,
For 6 months.
I don't know if we can do that in this instance, but I know what we do at work. We have the company provide us with an insurance certificate, and we are listed as an additional insured, okay, on that policy. And in the policy, it says that if the customer cancels their insurance, then we have to be notified that that occurred. All right? So that we're not thinking that there's still insurance there and the customer, you know, is proceeding to do what they're supposed to, we're doing. So I'm thinking we could have that written into the contract, but I think it might already be there.
I think it is. I saw it there. It's,
Yeah, I'm
and
pretty
it
sure
has-
it is, right?
I think I read it too. Annually, it has to be proven annually or something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, like we have a lot of agreements with people using roads and whatever, and that's in all those agreements, right? So, and if the company does drop the insurance, we get notified right away.
And then we dissolve their road agreement.
Or have well, that will be up to us at council, but we'd either have to, they would be in breach of the contract, right, or the agreement by not having the insurance. So I would think that they would have an option of insuring themselves or the agreement not being valid any longer.
Can I comment, Mayor Pennell?
Sure, go ahead, Dean.
Okay, sorry, I just was trying to wait my turn.
Yeah, we didn't quite get to you yet, but.
Yeah, thank you. I really like to comment, thank you. I just want to read something direct from the letter. Further, the Occupiers Liability Act limits the duty of care imposed upon your municipality so that it only has liability if it creates a danger with the deliberate intent of doing harm or damage to a person or his or her property, or acts with reckless disregard of the presence of the person or his or her property on the road allowance. It's an incredibly high standard that would have to be met for us to take all the liability. Essentially, what the letter is saying is that there's very little liability for the township unless we deliberately intend to do harm or any of the other things we just read. And if we do that, then we deserve to get sued as a municipality. At last meeting, I talked about bang for your buck. I'm going to use a different word this meeting. I'm going to use limited value. I don't believe in causing costs for future or existing residents if there's limited value to that cost. The value to having the insurance is quite simple. Therefore, the licensee's insurer would initially respond to the claim on behalf of your municipality as well on behalf of the licensee. So if there is a claim, the original claim they would respond to. If we were at all liable, it would immediately go to our insurer. My point is we are insured. We have this insurance already. I don't agree with additional costs for these agreements. It has limited value and sure, some value, but not enough to bill people for wanting to develop. You know, at the end of the day, they're improving our property through these road agreements. I think it's a win-win-win, and I'd also like to make these things very reasonably priced or free. So that's my position. I don't support it with Section 7. I'd like to see 7 removed, but I absolutely support a prefabbed, ready to go.
Okay, so I'm going to clarify, paraphrase, or whatever. You want to remove the insurance clause from the agreement, okay, and have the municipality bear all of the liability if anything should happen.
That's not how it works, Mayor Pennell. We don't bear all the liability. We only bear the liability if we do deliberate intent of doing harm or damage to a person or his or her property. So if we cause a problem, then we bear liability. But if they cause a problem, the letter says we don't bear the liability. It says they bear the liability. It's their problem. We already have insurance to cover this on our side. We are protected. If they choose not to protect themselves, that's free country. That's their choice, right? I would be foolish.
We do have liability insurance, yeah.
Yes. So we do not bear the liability.
We would bear some of that liability, yes, we would. especially if we don't ensure that the person who is maintaining the road has insurance. It
No,
will be
the
our
letter
doesn't.
life.
The letter actually doesn't say that. I mean, it says it has a limited value. It says that paragraph 2, as a general rule, it's very high standard for a municipality to get sued for someone doing poor maintenance. If we do the poor maintenance, someone else does it. It says here that we're not likely to. It's a high standard, which means there's little risk.
Okay, that's fine. I hear what you're saying. I'll go back around the table again and when I say table, I'm dreaming that I'm down at the council chambers, looking at
That's
who's
fine.
sitting where. So, Sandy, do you have anything additional you want to add?
I mean, we're assuming that people know what they're doing on the roads. I mean, what if they don't? I don't like assuming anything. I need to make sure that we're protecting all of Kelvin. Because in the long run, if there's some sort of suit, I mean, the residents end up paying. I firmly believe that we need to make sure that they have insurance on whatever vehicle they're using on our property. They have to have insurance, the way I look at it.
Dan?
I would be willing to support something about if the insurance clause left in with a smaller amount. The 5 million is a little high for me. I think like 2 million, 1 million would be something maybe more reasonable. I mean, I think any vehicle being used to remove the snow should be insured. And I don't know if we can assume that or not, that it would be insured, but I don't think that would be unreasonable to, I just try not to incur undue costs to the resident. At the same time, it should be insured. They shouldn't be using some off-the-road truck that they put a plow on and they're zipping up and down the township road where there could be other residents driving. So there is some validity, I think, to the insurance clause.
Okay.
Clause.
Anything else, Dan?
No, I'm on the fence. I need to think about it more, whether I could support it or not.
Okay. So, from what I hear, you agreed with everything except the amount that's written in the agreement. Is that correct?
Basically, I'd have to just check over the other things with the third party thing here as well, but I would want to make sure that the person is insured. That's what all I want to make sure. And I don't think I'd want them having to list the township as a third, I can't remember the wording exactly, but as a third party insurer or something like that. I just like them to be using an insured vehicle to clear the road.
Yeah, what that means is that their insurance company is covering the municipality as well.
Yeah, I don't think we figure that neither because of the limited value it has. I wouldn't want to put an extra cost. I think that they should be using a vehicle that's insured though to do the snow plow removing. Just a standard insurance, not having to put the township in as a insurer, I can't remember the proper word, but in the agreement as a third party insurer.
Additionally insured, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're having a concern with that third party liability and the amount of the insurance that's written in the agreement?
Yes, yeah. I mean, obviously the solicitor looked over this and gave some his suggestions. So, there is probably something there that should be mentioned about insurance. I mean, originally in the agreement, although our lawyer seems to think differently. I'm not sure about it.
You're not sure?
I'm not sure if I can support it or not. I have to think about it more.
Okay.
For that insurance.
Okay, Heather.
What if they can't insure it? They're saying, like, I mean, I guess what Dean's saying is valid, but what if they have this piece of junk old truck that they use just to plow snow, and they're just using it on their section of the road? You
But
know,
it's not their
if
road.
they get insurance on, if they get
It's
insurance
the
on it.
municipality's road.
Well, okay, so I'm just going to use, say, Pratt as an example. Say I build further on up the road on Pratt, and it's just me that's going up there, nobody else. So I have this old junker truck with a plow on it. That's what I use to plow, the end of the road, but it's just basically going to my driveway. I can't insure it. It's a piece of junk. They're never going to insure it, but I'm just using it to plow the driveway. Do I get insurance on it? I'm not going to get insurance on it.
Okay, in that case, I'm driving
Then you
down the
don't get to
road and
plow
I
your
see this driveway. And I say, I wonder what's down there. It's plowed. I'm going to take a drive in there and see. So you go in and boom, runs into you with your old clunker. What happens then?
I guess I get sued large.
Yeah.
Because one way or another, it's me and my stuff. So either I have a house or I don't. Either way, the lawyers will get the money out of you.
Yeah, but okay, so we're elected to look after our residents and the municipality, okay? And we're supposed to make decisions that protect everyone and in the best interest of everyone. I don't think in this case we are if we're not asking that individual to have insurance on his vehicle. Could put us into a situation where we'd be liable to for payment.
So how about we just assume all these roads that aren't assumed and start taking care of them?
That's kind of not in this resolution at all, okay, for discussion.
Oh, well, I'm just, that would solve a lot.
And it's not part of this resolution for discussion.
Okay,
right?
yeah, no, yeah. So that's where my stance is.
Well, we have to have some kind of agreement, I would think, if we want to protect ourselves and our residents. Your Councillor Homestead thinking that there shouldn't be any insurance. Councillor Grant thinks that it's not really worth it. Councillor Cross thinks that it's a good idea. And Councillor Maxwell thinks it's a good idea, but the amount is probably too high, and the part about having additionally insured might not be a good idea for the agreement. So, like, we're all over the place on this one. So, yes, go ahead, Dean.
I just, because we went around twice, I just wanted to get one last thought in before we go. I think there's a little bit of confusion around what we are and aren't liable for. I think the letter very clearly outlines that we would have to have deliberate intent, and there's other words that are very high legal standard. Using the example that Heather and herself just described, the person driving the old truck, they would be liable. They would have to pay, but then the municipality would not bear the cost. We wouldn't. The letter says we wouldn't bear the cost for their actions. So I just think that's where the confusion is. I think some people think that we are liable, but I read the letter, it says that we are not liable. And in that case, I don't believe it's my position as a politician to tell someone what's in, their personal best interest. They make, it's a free country that they make decisions. And if they choose not to be insured, that's a risk they take. They could lose their house, right? They're still going to get sued. It's not up for me. I don't believe my role as a politician is to order them to have insurance. I think my role is absolutely to protect the municipality and to protect others. And, you know, I think the municipality is protected and others are protected. I think that the limited value term is a perfect way to describe this. My stance is still the same. Thank you.
Okay, it's still the same. We haven't come to a decision on it. I don't know how to resolve it.
I'd like to see it removed.
Yeah, okay, so if we vote on it, we've had discussion on it, so we vote to accept it or not. If we vote yay, we do, and if we don't, we don't, I guess. But if we vote no, we're kind of voting also that we're not going to have an agreement that like a road use agreement within the municipality for anyone, right? If we vote this down right now, unless it comes with a change to it. Will we remove the insurance? If the letter from Mr. Christie and your interpretation of the second paragraph is correct, then I don't see the need to have insurance either, right? So.
Mayor Pennell?
Yes.
Someone would like me to go back to Mr. Christie and ask for further clarification on that paragraph?
Yeah, I don't really understand it. Dean seems to think he has a pretty good handle on it, and he might have. But I don't understand the way it's written, what it means to us. Like if it doesn't matter, and if this person has to be like a danger and a deliberate intent, then I don't see us needing to have that insurance. So I would like to further input on it. But I think we need to get everyone's agreement to do that. Sandy, are you in agreement to do that?
Yes, I'm in agreement. I just wanted to make a quick statement. The lawyer is the one who has come up with this road agreement. And if he didn't feel it was important to have insurance, that it wasn't worth the money, the paper it's written on, why did he put it in there in the first place? So yes, having clarification on that paragraph hopefully would maybe help make us understand better. I personally don't want to drive on any road if there's anybody out there with no insurance, because they may not own a
It's all the
house,
time.
so they may not lose a house. They may not. I'm thinking about the residents who might get hurt that have to sue somebody, and if they can't collect, then our resident who got hurt by no means of their own, who helps them? So yes, send it back to the lawyer, defer.
Okay, Dan?
Defer with a question to the lawyer asking what would the implications be of having the insurance clause removed completely?
Okay. All right. Heather?
I agree. And to answer Sandy, we don't have a road agreement, people who don't own their property. So,
What was your last statement?
we don't have road agreements with people who don't own their property.
Yeah. Dean, do you have anything you want to say? Other than I know you're really dedicated to your thought there. So.
Well, I just think,
Thanks.
I just believe we've already invested the money, but if listen, I want to get it right too. So, the majority is already spoken. So.
Okay.
Thank you.
So can we defer this to a future date until we get information back from Mr. Christie? we're gonna do it on July 28th as well. Okay, so I need, your votes on choosing to do this. I've already gone around table, but we have to do it officially, so, Sandy, you vote yea or nay?
Yay.
And, Dan?
Yes.
And Heather?
Yes.
And Dean?
Sorry. Okay, yeah,
Defer it till July 28th?
that's a yes.
Okay, thank you, and I vote yea as well. So thank you very much, guys. Good conversation. Next item on the agenda is the, excuse me, the one we're supporting for the District and Nipissing Social Service Administration Board, or any Social Services Administration Board, being the correct choice for overseeing our OPP detachments. So I have a resolution here I need a mover for. Who's next here? Sandy, can I get you to move this resolution, please?
Yes.
And Dan, can I get you to second that, please?
Yes.
Thank you. So we have a resolution in front of us, moved by Sandy, seconded by Dan, that council has received a request for support of a resolution enacted by the municipality of Dougal regarding the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, a discussion paper, New Road Provincial Police Department Boards Building a Framework for Better Policing Governance, dated May the 1st, 2020, which proposes that Northern Ontario District Social Service Administration Boards replace the current OPP detachment boards. And so we're saying that we want that the Council of Municipality of Calvin supports the resolution enacted by the Municipality of McDougall and hereby agrees with the opinion of the Federation of Northern Ontario Municipalities that the current DSSABs would not be in the best solution for overseeing Northern OPP detachments. And further, that a copy of this resolution be sent to FNUM and the member municipalities, AMO, the Honorable Sylvia Jones, Solicitor General, and Dick Fidelli, MPP for Nipissing. So I need any discussion on this? Sandy?
No.
Dan?
No discussion.
Heather?
No discussion.
And Dean?
No discussion.
Okay, so do you agree? Sandy, yea or nay?
Yay.
And Councillor Maxwell, yea or nay?
Yes.
Councillor Olmsted, yea or nay?
Yes. Yay.
And Councillor Grant?
Yay.
Thank you. I vote yea as well. So this resolution is carried. Thank you. Next agenda we have on, the next item we have on the agenda is a support for the establishment of a municipal financial assistance program for COVID-19. There's been quite a bit of discussion online about this and whether municipalities are requesting the right thing for the government to do or not, but we decided last time that we would support this resolution. So is there any discussion on this? Sandy?
None.
Dan?
No discussion.
Heather?
No discussion.
And Dean?
No.
No? Okay. So I need to vote whether we're going to go ahead with this.
Mayor Pennell?
That forward this resolution to the Honorable Steve Clark, Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, and local member of Parliament Anthony Rota, and local member of Ontario Legislator Vic Smith, FCM, AMO, and its member municipalities. So I need a vote if you agree. Sandy? Yea
We
or
need
nay?
a mover.
Oh, new
Need a
mover and
mover.
shake.
Oh, we didn't do that yet. Sorry. Who's next on the list? Sandy, will you move this one? And Dan, will you second it?
Yes.
Thank you. So now we need a vote. Sandy, do you agree to proceed?
Yay.
And Councillor Maxwell, do you agree to proceed?
Yes.
And Councillor Olmsted
Yes, proceed.
and Councillor Grant,
Yes.
do you agree?
Yes.
Thank you. I agree as well. So this resolution is carried. Thank you. Okay. Next item on the agenda is HI, discussion and development of a draft COVID-19 pandemic reopening plan policy. There was a lot of information provided to us there in this information. One request by our clerk was that that each member of council please prepare for a council meeting on July 14th a list of items they would like to see included or would like to have further discussion upon regarding reopening the plan policy. I'm not sure how many we submitted to Cindy, but do we have an idea of what we want that policy to look like? I made a few notes over the weekend about, I read through the different ones here, the one from our, what is it, EM4 or E4M or
M4C
whatever?
or whatever.
Yeah,
Integrity
and
Commission.
then there was one from Calendar, and there was one from St. Mary's, and another one from, I'm not sure where. But I went through them all, and I came up with quite a few points, really, for our municipal building itself, and then for the garage. And I can read them to you if you like, and then you guys can chirp in and tell me what your thoughts were. So I like the town of St. Mary's, and at the end of this, they had a flow chart that they could use to make a decision if they were going to go ahead with it or not. It had to do with was it approved by the council? Did they have the budget? Did they have the time? Did they have the staff? That sort of thing. And it was yes, no, and then you come to a conclusion of yes, you were going to do it, or no, you weren't. So for the municipal building, I thought we should do the following upon the initial opening. One was to continue to stagger the office attendants, like the clerk and administrative assistants, that they not be there at the same time initially. Maintain physical distancing within the office or wear protective face shields when distancing is not possible. That we should limit ratepayer admittance by appointment only, so that if somebody wants to come into the office to discuss something, it would probably be related to maybe taxes or to a building permit or something like that. They would need to make an appointment before they come, like you couldn't just show up, so that we could be prepared for them. The screening questionnaires be completed prior to admittance, and we're going to look at that again in the next meeting to define those questionnaires. All appointments that are going to be conducted at the hall should be done out in the open area, not in a small office area. That would allow for the physical distancing so that there was less chance of an infection to either the visitor or to the employee. I thought all offices should be cleaned and disinfected once daily. The kitchen area cleaned and disinfected daily and cleaned after every use. If someone used it, they had to clean up after themselves. The washroom should be cleaned and disinfected once daily. The office entrance should be cleaned and disinfected every time it is visited, say by a visitor, or, someone else. All doorknobs and counters cleaned and disinfected frequently during the day, all like touched areas that are highly touched. Make sure that there's an adequate supply of gloves, masks, and cleaning and disinfectant solutions. And council meetings to continue remotely using Zoom at this time. For the garage, I thought that there shouldn't be any admins other than employees to that area. The doorknobs and clean and disinfected on a daily basis. Washrooms clean and disinfected on a daily basis. Office clean and disinfected on a daily basis. The vehicles should be cleaned on the inside and disinfected daily. Such thing as door handles, hand holds, hood hardware, armrests, steering wheel, gear shifts, levers, and buttons. I think if it was, say, somebody come in, was operating a truck on Monday, and they had to go operate that truck on Tuesday, and nobody else was using it, then I think there, might be a case for not doing that intensive cleaning. But if it was going to be a different person, that it should be disinfected. There was also a suggestion that we ask the ratepayers and the employees what they expect to happen, and what they think should happen. So, like, say the ratepayers in the township, like, when we do start to open the office, do they have a thought of what we should be doing, how we should be doing it? Should we do an appointment? Should we, whatever, to get those ideas from them. And I don't know if we'd have to create any new policies in order to do any of these things. And then there was another thing about what do we do if somebody gets sick at work? Do we have a place for them to go? And do we have somebody who's going to take care of them? And it might require testing of that individual, and others that came in contact with them that day or the day before. And what do we do if there's an isolation period required for that individual and the other contacted employees? I don't know how we would run the office if both Cindy and the administrator were ill. So anyway, that's the ideas I found throughout those documents. I'm thinking probably everybody found pretty much the same ones, but if you have any additional ones that you want to add? Sandy?
Well, you took a lot of words out of my mouth. I think there was...
I'm sure.
Yeah. I like the idea of keeping it kind of as is, the way it is, where Cindy's working one day, Lucy's working another day. So that office is extremely small, especially if the air conditioner's on, all that stuff floating around. I was going to suggest, have we thought about maybe a 4-day work week? There's a lot of companies and businesses that are trying to promote that, where maybe the staff only does, they do the same work, the same hours, but they break it down to 4 days instead of 5. So there's actually one day where it's just less, what do you call it? Involvement with the public, less traveling, less interaction. It's just a suggestion. Definitely everybody should be wearing masks, especially people from the public coming in. They shouldn't come in without an appointment. I think Heather had suggested a doorbell ringer, so that they can't actually enter the office. The door is always locked. What was that? I was also...
What door are you to, Sandy?
The front door, the main door.
The main door?
Yeah, the main door.
Okay.
That you have to ring to get in. Heather had mentioned that to me when we were talking earlier today. I was also going to suggest maybe, and this may not kind of go over well with some people. I was going to suggest that we put mailboxes in front of the office where we pick up our own packages. That Cindy shouldn't be delivering them to us anymore. Less handling, less touching of the mailbox. It's putting her at risk as well. If we all have our own mailbox with a lock on it, at the front, we can pick up our own packages. And what about purchasing a thermometer tester to see if anybody's got a temperature? Those are the only extra things I was thinking.
Okay,
I'm
good
done.
idea. Dan, do you have any
I have a few
ideas?
things.
Anything
Well,
you
I
want
guess,
to comment?
sure, there's going to be, obviously there'll be regular cleaning schedules of everything which will have to be established, including probably cleaning of the playground equipment when that opens as well, and how often that should be done. What's the recommendation there? I think that we could, for this first part of the stage 3 that we're just entering now, I think masks are becoming mandatory as of Friday or next Friday for all indoor
Next Friday.
spaces. So that will take care of the mask issue, which will be a big benefit to, it'll be a big security for everybody involved in that. And we're happy to sit here at our shop as well. I think that at the hall, the reception area, the lobby area that you come into the hall is very narrow. I don't think it's even 6 feet wide. And I think that we should not use that entrance right now. We should be using the hall entrance with a secondary counter set up in there so that we can have lots of space, that people can stand back, easily stand back 6 feet to have some discussion with a counter in there. So maybe a temporary counter possibly could be made out of tables or something so it doesn't get too expensive, but with the plexiglass sheets or some kind of plastic sheet up to stop any transmission that way. So it's an extra barrier of protection, and in addition to the cleaning that goes on. So I think using the side door might be a good idea, and if the public was to use that way for the time being, it would limit the use of the hall, but I think it only has to take up a section of the hall where the door is that comes into the back door. Maybe that should be the area that you're accepting the any visitors that come in. It's in the main hall. You can set up some tables in there so there's areas to work, and I think that might be a better way to go rather than coming in the front door just because of the tight spaces. We want to try to avoid tight spaces. I think the office, because it's there's separate rooms and the two main employees in the office, there's enough space there for the two of them to work, though, I think, to come back to the office to work, I feel. Now maybe that's up to how they feel about that. But we still have to make sure that our employees are coming to work reasonably. I think the roads department is already on a 4-day work week, which I don't know, apparently they just do that on their own, I guess. The screening is very important. That we'll have to screen them before they come in the building by telephone or by appointment. That's easy enough to do. I'm not in favor of picking up our own packages. I think it'll just create more liability for us. We have to go there. I don't know who's touched that mailbox. I don't know if it's been cleaned or not. I think my drop off for my package is fairly easy, and it doesn't require any risk to the employee, I believe. Very little risk. I mean, when you touch something, you simply use some hand sanitizer afterwards and carry on. You don't touch your face with your hands before you do that, and just get in your car and you hand sanitize and away you go. So I'm not in favor of picking up my own packages. I probably will forget and do it. That's all I have to add to it. Right. It's gonna be a lot of work.
Okay, thanks, Dan. Heather, is there any items you wanted to add, or?
All very good suggestions. I like having the meeting the public in the back. I agree that Cindy and Lucy can be in the office together. Having an appointment system, keeping the doors locked. You don't just come in anymore. That's a must. I really think that we can move into in-person meetings very safely. We can be responsible for our health and clean washrooms before and after use. Uh, being in healthcare, I had to work with people who had many diseases, and it was in your best interest to clean before and after use. So I think we can have live meetings again. I think it just allow for a little bit of normality, not worry about this crappy internet. Um, but I want to open the park. The poor kids have sanitation stations. You know, clean your hands before and after. When my kids were little, I cleaned their hands after they were at the park. They're cesspools. It's a thing. But at this point, they're so clean, squeaky clean. We're supposed to have rain several times, so it's going to be clean. And we have such little things for our children to do here. I really would like to move forward opening our park. But yeah, sanitation stations and masks. Because it's going to be, if you're in a public space, you're going to have to wear a mask. And that's okay. I'm okay with that. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Dean? Anything you got out of all that information you want to add, or?
Yeah, actually, I think everybody's got fantastic ideas, you know, and a lot of those are good things that are being said, and I don't really dispute any of them. The one comment that I wanted to add was I feel like a lot of our public facilities are very low use. Washrooms, the park, you know, and they do get used, but it's not every day. And so I want to make sure, like, I'd like to, you know, have procedures that reflect that. And I think the staff are pretty aware of how often they're used, and so that we can clean at a reasonable interval. And maybe if no one uses them, then maybe once a week, right? But what I'd like to do, what I think is a good idea, but you know, obviously it's a comment for everyone and staff, is I think it would be more than reasonable to put up a sign with a phone number. I'm not sure which phone number. That's something that has to be figured out. But if anybody uses the park or uses the bathroom, they can call, leave a message, or send a text. And you know, that way, we can have our staff, you know, clean that facility after use. And there's no way to enforce it, but I think most people would respect that, and you know, we'll get hopefully better cleaning without cleaning something like a park daily, because it would just exhaust resources, and I don't think it's needed. I'd like to, you know, keep everything simple. I really like the township of. Somebody's going to have to help me pronounce this. The F and the S. Can someone?
Frontenac?
Frontenac, yeah, okay. I like theirs. I guess my point is I really want to move to stage 3. I think that the statistics and what's coming out of the North Bay Health Unit warrant that. We're locally, we're not inundated. We're not at capacity. We have very few cases. And I think obviously precautions are great because we don't want to get cases. But I'd like to try and move into stage 3. And I got one last point I'm trying to make here. Just that, you know, there's a real possibility of a second wave. And, you know, but I don't think that the precautions we'd use for a second wave, like if, let's say, you know, there's an explosion of cases in our region, I think we would up our precautions with the risk. And so I just like to see us make policies that reflect the reality of what we're dealing with in terms of the statistics. And, you know, PPE, yeah, all these things, but, you know, the extras, the above and beyond precautions, I think should kind of be like we're keeping parks closed, keeping things all closed up. If there's, you know, if there's precautions available like gloves and masks and cleaning, I think we could open them right now. If cases spike, we'll have to react. So I appreciate having a comment.
Thank you. There was a fellow on TV tonight. He was some mayor from Southern Ontario, and they were talking about opening up their playground, and their policy was going to be sanitize your hands after you leave, and if you don't think it's safe to go there, don't go. But they weren't going to do any special cleaning, and they weren't providing anything like any sanitizer in there at all. It was like if you want to come to the park, fine, come to the park, but disinfect your hands after you leave because, you know, they're dirty. Those things are dirty.
That was Timmins. I watched it too.
Was it Timmins?
Yeah, it was the
I
guy
thought
from
it was,
Timmins.
I thought it was Southern
No, it
Ontario.
was
but-
Timmins, which was, I was surprised.
Okay. Yeah, I remember the those splash pad in the rear. Anyway, but
Yep.
the only other, the 4-day week, I don't really agree with that one. I know it would put everybody out of the office one extra day, but we're kind of there to for people to contact, right? Our residents, people from out of the municipality wanting information, various reasons. So I think we should continue to change the shifts off, but I don't think we should limit to 4 days a week. So I'm thinking that it sounded like everybody had their ideas written down, and I don't know if you've all provided them to Cindy or not. Maybe if you haven't, you could do that so that she can get a list together, and then we can look at it again, eliminate the duplicates, and decide what we're going to do officially for the opening.
Did Cindy write them down right now? Did Cindy
Yes,
record the
they're
idea?
recorded.
This meeting's recorded.
I didn't hear that question.
I was asking if Cindy made notes of the comments already, if she already has them written down.
The meeting is,
Do you, Cindy?
I do, yes.
Okay, perfect. So I need a mover and a seconder for Cindy to move ahead with a draft COVID-19 pandemic reopening policy. So Heather, you're up. Can you move
Yes.
this?
Sure.
And Dean, can you second it? Okay, thank you. So we have the resolution moved by Heather and seconded by Dean that council hereby authorize the clerk treasurer to proceed with the draft COVID-19 pandemic reopening plan policy to bring back the July 28th, 2020 regular council meeting. Any further discussion on that? Sandy?
No.
Dan?
No discussion?
Heather?
No more discussion.
And Dean?
no discussion.
Okay, so I need a vote in agreement. Sandy, you vote yea or nay?
Yay.
And Dan, yea or nay?
Yes.
And Heather, yea or nay?
Yes. Yes, yes, yes.
And Dean, yea or nay?
Yes.
Thank you, I vote yea as well. So this resolution is carried. Thank you. So that's all that. Okay. So the next item here on the agenda, I am missing one. I have the off-road vehicles in my list. No, so, okay, so I must have got a couple
Jay
things mixed up.
Mantle.
There we go. So Councillor Maxwell. I think the next on our agenda is, yeah, there it is, sir. We have a resolution, so I need a mover and a seconder. Heather was the last one. And Dean, so Sandy, can you move this one, please?
Yep.
And then I'm going to skip over Dan. I'm going to go back to Heather. Heather, can you second it?
Sure. Yes.
Okay. So we have a resolution moved by Sandy, and seconded by Heather. Whereas Councillor Dan Maxwell will be stepping down to the ad hoc public
This
swimming
one.
access to the Mabdeful River Committee. Therefore, Council hereby appoints as his replacement.
Mayor Pennell,
Yes,
one.
Jay.
what? Jay?
There's a resolution in terms of landfill fees.
Oh, is there? Okay. Where the heck is that? Okay, I don't see it, but just, can you put it up so we can see it then?
It's on the screen, yes.
Temporary exemption. Okay. Okay. So this one here. All right, so we have this resolution moved by Sandy, seconded by Heather. Whereas due to the state of emergency of the COVID-19 pandemic, and whereas Municipality of Calvin is allowing a temporary exemption to the landfill bylaw 2019-021, sections 8 and 9, during said state of emergency, which allows for some divertible materials to be included with garbage during the state of emergency only. Therefore, be it resolved that Council hereby authorizes that the fees for mixed load divertible materials and mixed bags of recyclable and garbage only that were to be implemented on July 1st will be waived until such time as exemption has been removed by resolution. Is there any discussion on this one? I know Sandy has some thoughts on this, so Sandy?
Well, I'll just state it again. I don't want to see divertibles in the landfill, but I do agree with not putting the fees on right now. So that's it.
Okay. Dan?
No discussion. I think we discussed it last time. I'm good.
Yep. Heather?
No discussion.
And Dean?
No discussion.
Okay, so we need a vote on this then. So Sandy, do you vote to proceed or not? Yay or
Yay.
nay?
Yay.
Okay, and is that a yay?
Yes, it was a yay.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Maxwell?
Yes.
Councillor Olmsted, yay or nay?
Yes, yes, yes.
And Councillor Grant, yay or nay?
Yes.
And I vote yay as well, so this resolution is carried. Thank you very much. Where did I get that? Okay. Check my phone. Okay. So, go on to this one now. So, Sandy, can I get you to move this one, please?
Yep.
And Dean, can I get you to second this, please?
Yes. Yes.
Thank you. So we have a resolution in front of us, whereas Councillor Dan Maxwell will be stepping down from the ad hoc public swimming access to the Mabdeful River Committee. Therefore, Council adopts someone as the replacement on the ad hoc public swimming access to the Mabdeful River Committee, who will hold this appointment from this day forward or until a replacement has been appointed, should any appointee be unable to fill this appointment, until recommendations on the plan for the public swimming access to the Mabdeful River have been presented to Council and finally adopted by bylaw. And 60 days after such plan has been adopted by bylaw, the ad hoc public swimming access to the Mabdeful River Committee will be automatically dissolved, and further that the first meeting of the ad hoc committee will be held once the Province of Ontario emergency order restricts have been lifted and the Municipality of Calvin has the appropriate policies and procedures in place to help protect the members of the ad hoc committee from the spread of COVID-19. Okay, so is there anyone who would like to step up and replace Dan in his position on the committee? I don't hear a lot of yeas, but I'll ask around the table. Sandy, are you? You considering that, have considered that?
No, I'm not interested in doing it.
Okay. Heather, you're already on the committee. Dean?
You know what, I'm actually not interested as well. Yes, I'm not interested. So
You're actually what?
I'm not interested in sitting on the committee. I think there's going to be further discussion from me. There'll probably be a motion in the future related to the committee, possibly from myself. Different. It's not really, I don't know if it's part of this resolution or not.
Okay, I don't know what you're referring to, so.
I was on the fence about the committee in the first place, and I think it should actually be done in front of council. So,
You think it should? I didn't hear your last sentence. I'm very sorry.
I think that we should do this business in front of council as a whole, and I think that's probably where I'm going to try and.
Okay, so if we dissolve this committee, okay, everyone was talking about transparency, okay, of the former council and how decisions were made and nobody had any part of it, and the public didn't have anything to say about it, and made behind closed doors and in secret, okay? So we developed the committee to look at the development of that area on the Matafor River. And we went out to the public and asked for volunteers, should we go ahead with the committee? We developed the committee so the volunteers were, could join in. We have moved ahead with contracts and all that sort of stuff. If we dissolve the committee right now, then I'm thinking that sends out not a very good message to the residents about taking away their ability to be part of the committee and to bring forward ideas and discussions in a committee format to move ahead with this project or to not move ahead with this project. That's all I'm saying. I think it should remain as a committee. I don't know what all you think about that, but I know you guys, some of you were the ones that thought we should be more transparent going forward. So this would be a definite step in the other way.
I can respond when appropriate.
Pardon me?
I'd like to respond when appropriate.
Go ahead.
Okay, I understand. I get the concern. I definitely do. I think that by going to a full council, actually we don't lose any transparency at all. I believe, and the way that we run our meetings, the way that you chair the meetings, Mayor Pennell is very open, and it's obviously a public meeting, and I think that to have everyone involved is not losing transparency. Extremely similar. I guess my concern is I think that everyone should be involved. I think that when the committees in the past, that I've seen operate, most of the councillors end up attending anyways, and everyone's invested anyways. So why not just do it in front of council? But you know what? I haven't made a final decision on my thoughts on that yet. But, that's kind of where I'm leaning. I appreciate your concerns as well, because I think they are valid. But I think there's still a way to do that with all absolute transparency and full comment from the members of the committee.
So it sounds like we don't have anyone to step up for Dan. And there's been different thoughts here concerning what should happen with the committee. But the resolution in front of us is to appoint someone else to the committee or not. So everyone's discussed what their thoughts were concerning the committee, I believe. Heather, did you have, yeah, you did.
No, I didn't.
Pardon me?
I didn't have but I do have some suggestions though. If maybe we can reach out to other people. John had said he was willing to be on the committee. Perhaps we can have like a telephone conversation with him and say, listen, nobody else wants to really throw themselves under the bus. Can we just handle this all together? We can have extra meetings if that's possible to have just maintain transparency. I do want that. But it's a very, very heated, very emotional, yeah, like it's just the last meeting. Look how it goes south in a New York minute. And I don't think that, well, 2 counselors would have been a little bit better to kind of keep things on even keel, but I don't think 1 is going to be enough to keep equilibrium at the meeting. So, you know, I think it's going to be kind of just a gum shot, just not much is going to get done. But as far as I found out that people really don't want any kind of improvement per se to the swimming hole. I think that we just need to leave it as is. Once they found out they were going to lose it, they just like, no, just keep it the way they are. And they don't want, you know, Mattawa kids to come and ruin it. They just want our private little spot, our little piece of heaven. So I wouldn't be adverse to reaching out to John and having a discussion and see which way he would like to go with this. If
Reaching
that's
out to who?
appropriate. John, he wanted to be on the ad hoc committee. Jonathan.
John Richardson.
Okay.
Richardson.
He was one and Mr. Desjardins was the other one, right?
Oh, yeah. So I could reach out to them and
Can I just say something,
get
Ian?
their
Mayor, panel?
Yes, please.
Yeah, I didn't, it wasn't my intent to have the committee resolved, but I found that dealing with the topic, it reached my stress level in terms of council work, and there was too much stress involved. So I had to drop it because of the level of stress that council as a whole and these projects that we were creating on my personal health, I guess. So for the better of my health, I decided that I can't be on this committee because I get passionate about it. And the last meeting, I felt like I was over passionate, and I felt I was too aggressive in speaking every thought that I had and bottom from the back of my head. And I find that causing me stress. And then after a meeting like that, sometimes you don't sleep all night because you think about like what you did, what you said. And so there's only so much stress I can take on as being a counselor, and we get enough with just operating with our daily arguments, conflicts that we have on almost every topic we bring up. And so I just had to drop it because the stress level was too high. And I'm trying to manage that better because I got high blood pressure, and fights like that put my blood pressure up too high, and so that's why I resigned from the committee. I didn't want it to resolve the committee, but maybe I would definitely want to keep the transparency open there if the committee doesn't go forward and make sure. I know it's being honest and putting a bit of my my life out there, but I've got to manage my stress too, and I want to work hard for council and do as much as I can, but there's a threshold of the amount of stress that I'm willing to accept, and that was kind of pushing me over.
Yeah, okay. Thanks for sharing. I think we sent out a flyer. Remember we sent out a flyer about what the municipality, the residents wanted us to do going forward? And I think one of the questions on that one, I'm not sure if it was there one there about if they want us to develop the swimming hole or not?
It was more vague. It was more access to public waterway, I think. No, sorry. I think Cindy can answer that.
Yes, there was a question.
There was one?
Yes.
Do you know, I don't know if I'm on the line here, but do you know what the response was?
The responses that we had thus far were, most people didn't want it.
Didn't want it?
Did not.
Oh, okay.
We never finished that survey either, unfortunately.
Well, we had a timeline for it, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
we
Come
did.
back?
Yeah, the question
I know
wasn't
we
exactly
didn't do
about
anything with it. we did put out the questionnaire and a timeline to come back, right? So, okay, so what happens here if we don't have, another counselor willing to, take Dan's place? Cindy?
It can be another staff member, or we can put it in
Okay.
public again.
Or go to the public?
That's correct.
Okay.
If I
We'd have,
If I may, Mayor Panel, I believe Chief Maxwell had indicated he was interested in being on the committee at the time.
who's that?
Dean Maxwell
Dean, okay.
had indicated at that council meeting, he may be someone that council would want to consider if he already has interest in it.
We'd have to approach him to find out if he was interested and willing to do that. Okay, I'm gonna go around here and ask Sandy, can we defer this until our next meeting to see if Dean might be interested in joining the committee? Would that be okay with you? Sandy?
Yes. What is the ad hoc committee? There is, what word am I looking for? A description of what it's supposed to consist of. Is that stated that in an ad hoc committee, there had to be a certain amount of council members on it?
I don't believe so.
No. Okay.
I
Cindy?
thought there was 2.
Give me one moment. Definition of an ad hoc committee means a committee established by council to review a specific matter, and once the committee has reported to council with respect to its findings and recommendations, the committee is automatically dissolved.
So it doesn't say that there has to be 1 or 2 or 10.
I'm just
So it
double
can be
checking in
anybody.
another spot here. Give me one more moment, please.
Okay.
Has Dean left the meeting? He was at the meeting earlier.
I
I don't see him there now.
Figure that out specifically.
Failed.
So, Mayor Pennell.
Yep.
Is it possible to have a small recess before your information letter?
Yes.
We can finish out.
Cindy's looking up information there.
Yeah,
So,
you want to have it now?
I'm done.
Okay.
The
You're
answer to the question is no, there are no restrictions on what the composition is. It says,
Okay.
when council establishes a specific matters within the jurisdiction of council, when council establishes an ad hoc committee, the mandate for the committee as well as the composition shall be adopted. So it doesn't say who has to be on it or anything like that. Council decides that.
okay. Let's move ahead. So, Sandy, you're okay with asking Dean? Dan, are you okay with asking Dean?
Yeah, yes.
And Heather?
Yes, I'm great with that, thanks.
Okay, and Dean, you're okay with asking Dean?
Yeah, I just think it should be deferred, and if Dean shows interest, then we can do
Yeah.
something.
Okay, so can we defer this until our next meeting? And and then we can ask Dean if he's interested in fulfilling a role on the ad hoc committee. So I need a vote on that. Sandy, you vote yay or nay?
Yay.
And, Dan, yea or nay?
Yes.
And, Councillor Olmsted, yea or nay?
Yay.
And Councillor Grant, yea or nay?
Yes.
And I agree as well, so, we've agreed to defer this until the July 28th meeting. And, if, someone could, ask Dean if he's, willing to sit on the committee, that would be, very much appreciated, and bring that back, to the meeting on July 28th.
I will do that.
Okay, so Dean, you wanted to go for a break, so it's 9:50 now, 10 o'clock sound okay?
You want to finish action letters, Mayor Pennell, or not? Just.
Okay, I don't care, you're the one who wanted to go.
Well, we have 2 left. I think we should finish action letters, and that's a good time. That's what I think.
Okay. All right. Okay, so we've got, next item on the agenda is, security signage and municipal grounds, and donation of 3 signs. Any information on that? There's a resolution here. Need a mover and a seconder. So Dan, can you move this one, please?
Okay. Yes.
And then Heather, can you second it?
Yes, I will.
Okay. So we have a resolution moved by Dan, seconded by Heather, that council hereby approves the installation of signage indicating that the municipal grounds are monitored using camera security systems, and gratefully accepts the generous donation of Sandy Cross of the 3 signs indicated as such. Any discussion? Sandy?
Just that I had ordered signs for my own area here, and I have the 3 extra, which I don't need. And I thought would be a good idea to post them in certain areas by our own cameras on our own municipal properties, because not everybody realizes that there are cameras. They don't, they may not see them, they may not realize that's what they're for. They don't read the flyer, or maybe go on the website to know that there is actually cameras, and it could act better as a deterrent to make people think twice not to monkey around. So,
Okay.
yeah, that's all that.
Thanks for that. Dan?
I have something to say. Thanks for doing that, and I know your intentions are all well and good, but I find that sometimes when things are donated to the township and it creates a policy, like the initial giving of the cameras, then not all of a sudden we decided that we're going to actually have security cameras there, and I think that when we're creating policy, it should come through council, not through like a gift to council that creates the policy. So I mean, I know you have good intentions, and I don't want to criticize you for doing that, but just sometimes, like for example, the security cameras that were put in the hall and in the fire hall, they created, we had to have the employees install them, and then we probably had to have internet connection there to have them operate correctly. So they created other additional things as well that we didn't consider as a council because they were gifted to us. And so sometimes I'd rather that our policies are created by the council and not by a donation that comes to council. I don't mean to sound ungrateful in that way, but it's just that it's kind of like when someone donates a speed limit sign because they want the speed limit reduced on their streets, so they donate a 6 kilometer an hour speed limit sign. So I just think that policies have to be created through council and not through gifts that are given to council. I don't know if I make myself clear there or not, but that's all I have to say.
Okay, but this is not a policy, all right?
Yeah,
This
it's
is
a
just
mandate or a directive. That's
a donation. Yeah.
yeah. It's not.
And the installation of those signs. So I agree. I hear what you're saying, though. Heather, you have any comments?
No, I agree with what he's saying. I appreciate the temperature of the whole thing. Like, it does cost extra work, so we should probably just get a heads up and say, hey, can we afford this, and then move forward. But thank you, Sandy. I get what he's saying. We're appreciative. we'll install the signs. That's mine.
Dean?
I don't have any comment. I think enough's been said, and I'm ready to vote.
Okay, so I need to vote whether council approves the installation of the signs indicated, that's, going to be, provided to us, through, generous donation from Sandy Cross. So Sandy, how do you vote? Yes or no? I guess that would be a conflict, right? So I'm thinking it would be. So Councillor Maxwell?
Yes.
Look, Mayor Pennell, was a conflict declared?
No, it wasn't. It's up to Sandy to declare that conflict. I can't tell her to do that.
Yeah, so she should vote or declare one.
Sandy?
Yeah, I guess I'll declare one. Yeah.
So does that need to be written, Cindy?
Does, yes.
Okay, so how do we do that?
I will send Sandy a form.
Okay. And then she can sign it and return it to you?
Correct.
Okay.
But Sandy should
yeah.
state verbally right now that she's declaring conflict and the reason why.
Okay. Sandy?
I'm declaring a conflict, so I don't, my vote doesn't count.
Okay. Councillor Maxwell, how do you vote?
I vote yes. I don't think that the conflict of interest she's not benefiting from this in any way, so I don't see why she has to declare conflict of interest. There's no financial gain. There's no financial gain on her part that I can see.
No, but
anyways,
she's
it's not just
involved in a decision that concerns her donation.
Okay.
So
Yes, I vote yes.
she's chosen to make that
Okay.
that declaration.
Yes.
So Heather, how do you see this?
Yeah,
Dan Maxwell, you voted yea?
Yes.
Okay. Heather Olmsted,
yes,
you vote to have the signs accepted and installed?
yes,
And Councillor Grant, you vote yea or nay?
Yes.
Is that a yea?
Oh, yes.
Okay. I vote yes as well. So this resolution is carried. Thank you very much. Okay. Then we have next item on the agenda is M. It's an update to Ontario Off-Road Vehicle Act and a request to update the Municipality of Calvin Off-Road Vehicle Bylaw. So this, okay, so I need a mover and a seconder. Can I get Dan to move this one?
Yes.
And Dean, can I get you to second it, please?
Yes.
Okay, so we have a resolution moved by Dan, seconded by Dean. The council hereby authorize the clerk treasurer to proceed with an amendment to the bylaw number 2015-015 off-road vehicles to include expanded definition of off-road vehicles in the bylaw. And further that council requests that the amendment to this bylaw be presented to council for approval at the next regular council meeting on July 28th. So this is for the addition of like dirt bikes and Argos, right? 6 or 8 wheelers. So I'll open the floor to discussions whether you think it's a good idea or not. Sandy?
Yeah, I'm for it.
Okay. Councillor Maxwell?
No discussion. Seems reasonable.
Okay. Councillor Olmsted?
yep, it seems reasonable.
Okay, and Councillor Grant?
As a councillor, I'd like to thank Jeff McGurr for bringing this forward. It's something I intended to bring forward at some point, so I'd like to thank him. And I think it's a great thing for the community. I think it's a good idea, and I support it.
Okay. Dan and Dean was the seconder. Are you still there, Cindy?
Yeah, sorry, I'm trying to,
I didn't know if we lost you or not.
nope.
Okay, so that was the discussion. I need a vote whether we accept this amendment to the bylaw. So Councillor Cross, how do you vote, yea or nay?
Yay.
And Councillor Maxwell, yea or nay?
Yes.
And Councillor Olmsted, yea or nay?
Yes.
And Councillor Grant, yea or nay?
Yes.
I vote yea as well, so that resolution is carried. Thank you very much. Okay, so you want to go now, Dean?
Yes, please.
Okay, I just want to put in everybody's mind that it's 10 o'clock, okay, and we've got a closed meeting yet to do. So I don't know if we should be passing a resolution in this meeting to extend the meeting past 11 o'clock if we are required to do so. But we can do that when we come back if we need to do that. Okay, so it's 10:01. How about 10:10? Does that work? Or is that too much?
Even 5 minutes is good for me. I don't know.
Okay, 10:06 then. All right, 10:05.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, everybody back?
Yep.
Yes.
Everybody back?
Yes.
Isn't that great?
Yes,
Yeah?
we all
Okay.
are.
I'm waiting for someone to answer. I'm thinking, what the hell's wrong with my phone? Okay. So there's a bunch of information letters here that we all read through over the last 2 days. Are there any letters in there that we need to look at? Sandy?
I
don't
didn't
know.
see
Sandy
any.
back yet?
She's
I'm here.
Oh, there's Sandy.
Yeah, no, I don't, I've got to go through them here. I didn't think there was anything.
Okay. Dan, anything that come to your
No.
attention?
No, nothing from me.
No. Heather?
Well, I do want to address Dean's sustainable IT procurement project. 7A.
Yes. What do you want to say?
Oh, that we sent a letter to our MPP and ask the federal government to join the provincial government in matching funds to have us have sustainable high-speed internet.
Well, that's old and new business, Heather.
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry,
that's not sure.
but it says 7A, Council Grant.
Say what?
No, that's something else, Heather.
Oh, is it? Sorry.
Do you
And
have
I have
anything,
nothing.
Heather?
No, I don't.
No? Okay. Dean, do you have anything? Any of those letters?
No, I guess I could just make a quick comment because on item A, I have a number of colleagues involved in some organizations that are promoting the sustainable IT procurement, and they asked me to bring that forward to council. So I did, and I think it applies mostly for large municipalities, but there might be some more programs, more things that are coming as well that are green related. And it's just because I just wanted to share. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. Sandy, did you see anything in there?
No,
Okay.
didn't see anything.
I guess trial balance is next on the agenda, dated July the 7th. Everybody had a chance to go through that?
Yes.
Cindy, do you want to go over it?
We don't need to go through it. It's only if anybody has any questions.
It's just like we're good and we're not over in any areas and that sort of stuff, right?
There is one area that we are over in. Administration, copier expenses. We are already almost $200 over our budgeted price.
Our yearly budget.
Which category, sorry?
Copier expenses, 1-5-0101-117. It's because we've had extra flyers go out because of COVID-19. Our flyers are double, almost triple the size they were last year. So copies we're making more copies. That's the reason why.
That's the only area that's over, Cindy?
Yes.
Any comments, Sandy?
No, and it's just an added expense that we didn't expect because of COVID.
Dan?
Is there anything that we can do different? Probably not.
I don't know.
No, nothing for me.
Heather, any comments?
No, nothing for me, thank you.
And Dean?
Nothing on my end. I'm not overly concerned about the copy expenses. Obviously, I'm assuming Cindy has a plan to, we're on a deficit in that category. I just like to understand where would the money come from the budget? Would it be from reserves or another category?
I'm sorry, you broke up there. Could you repeat your question?
I just have a quick question about so if we go over that category's budget amount, we obviously continue to copy paper. Where do we find the resources?
Well, it depends if we're overall over in administration. It may come from other areas, but it's important to keep accurate records. I'm not going to start putting it under different categories so that it's not over. That's not proper accounting procedure. But we'll try to maintain it within the other budget, which means cutting other things in the other categories. And if I can't do that, then yes, we might have to take some from reserves depending on how far it's over.
Thank you. Please keep us updated.
So Sandy had a question about, she didn't know if there was any way to stop that from happening going forward or to curtail that. And I don't think there is. Would you agree?
Well, the only thing I can do is try to make the flyers smaller, and I mean, it's not just the flyers. It's like this council package, for instance, was 200 pages long. Council packages are bigger. There's just the only thing I can do is try and minimize the amount of copies that we do. Try and make the flyers smaller. But if I make the flyers smaller, then we're not putting the same amount of information out to people in the same manner. It doesn't mean it's not out there. It's just people have to go to the website or the app or our Facebook page or somewhere else to get that information.
Yeah.
And certain members of our community, I think, are to obtaining a certain amount of information from our flyer.
Yes, I agree. Okay, so we'll just try to do the best we can, right?
Absolutely.
Next item on the agenda is information letters available. There are none. And then it's old and new business. Dean, I believe you had something for old and new business?
We
You're on
can't
mute.
hear you.
Muted.
Okay, that's much
You're
better.
muted. Gary.
Yeah, I didn't realize it. I just, I guess I'll just give a brief explanation of what I emailed, the office and council in general to be discussed. I had a Zoom meeting with Vic Fideli, and I asked him about rural internet, and we had a conversation about it. And I just wanted to make sure, I just wanted to confirm that, there is some grant, there's some money, 150 million. Obviously, there is some strings attached that I find out after. But I just want to make sure Blue Sky Network was up to date, that they were, actively pursuing this money, and that everything's on the up and up. And I got a fantastic response back from Cindy and from Blue Sky, assuring me that and us that we are on top of things. And it was suggested that we approach MPP Anthony Rota by a number of people to match the provincial money and to, for the federal government to do something as well to help, because rural connectivity, I think, is an issue that I think that everybody at the table was on board with. And we clearly need help. It's not something we're going to fund through our tax base in any significant way. So I emailed out a motion as well. And I don't know if that is here or not, because I would like to support a letter to Anthony Rota asking him to match the provincial contribution. So if anybody else has any comments, it's perfect.
Okay, so I need a mover and a seconder for this.
Actually, no, you don't. This is just a notice of motion. I will bring it to the next council meeting.
Okay, so the resolution just gets ignored then? Tonight, I mean?
This resolution, yes, it will be brought
Okay.
to the next council meeting.
Okay. I think it's a good idea personally.
I agree.
I think everyone would agree we need better internet access. I don't know if that funding is going to come from the Liberal government, but we can always hope, right? Okay. Okay, so Sandy, do you have any old or new business?
No.
Dan, any old or new business?
Nothing.
Heather, any old or new business?
No.
Cindy, do you have any old or new business?
Yes, I do. So
Okay.
the thing that I would like to draw council's attention to is, now that we are moving into phase 3, we need to have public meetings for the official plan and the zoning bylaw. Our planner for the official plan and the zoning bylaw technically has been retired for a year and a half, almost 2 years. So he would like to get this wrapped up. He has suggested that we have the meetings at the end of August, specifically August 25th, 26th, and 27th. We have a council meeting on the 25th, and so does Papineau Cameron. So it will have to be that Matawan has their meeting on that evening. But they're having their meeting in their own council chambers. Papineau would like to have their meeting here in our community hall. They will foot the bill for any masks, hand sanitizer, staffing that's required to make sure people keep their physical distancing, all that sort of thing. They would just like to use our facility because they don't have a big area conducive for a public meeting such as this. So In the past, that's what's happened, that, these meetings have taken place in our community hall, and our meeting would take place on one of those 2 evenings as well. I just want to see if council has any questions, concerns, comments about those dates.
Those are evening meetings?
Yes, they're evening meetings.
Okay. Sandy, any concerns?
No, none.
Dan?
No concerns.
Heather?
No concerns. I think we should go into regular meetings.
And Dean?
No concerns. Just that I'd like to make sure is there a copy available right now of the latest version? We've gotten a few different versions, copies over the past the past year. Is there a latest version available online?
No, it's not available online because it's not been passed yet. I can't post it online without it being passed.
Okay.
I have requested the latest version of both the zoning bylaw and the official plan, along with the appropriate maps that go along with both of them. I'm waiting for our planner for this project to send them back to me.
Can you please email that to me when it's available?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay. So I guess we're okay to proceed with one of those nights?
Yes, the only stipulation will be we'll have to have the policies in place
Yeah.
for the opening of the hall. I'm anticipating we'll have them in place by then, but just so everyone's aware, we'll have to have the appropriate policy in place for.
Yeah, and we'll have to follow any policies that are in place by the province for social distancing and that sort of thing as well. Okay, anything else, Cindy?
Yes. So Councillor Grant asked a question on June 25th in regards to a discussion that was placed at the last regular council meeting in regards to vehicle expenses, the accounts for vehicle expenses. I just wanted to clarify with everyone that and you should have noticed that in the trial balance that was circulated, that all of the vehicle expense accounts have been renamed to mileage expense accounts, with the exception of fire, because fire has both mileage and vehicle expenses in that particular account. The account for council will be called, or what it has been changed to, mileage and miscellaneous expenses. Any miscellaneous expenses that require reimbursement will be included in this account as well, but will be clearly identified in the description of the invoice. It's not good accounting practice to create new accounts for one-offs unless it's absolutely necessary, so that's why we have these miscellaneous accounts. The description on each invoice will be more descriptive, as I indicated, but unfortunately there's a limited number of characters that the description field has in our software program, so I won't be able to spell out everything in everyone's expenses. They will be grouped in categories, more or less. Typically, all the invoices are on the table at the council meetings in a purple folder for viewing by any member of council or the public. But unfortunately, because we've had to have electronic meetings over the past few months, this practice has not been possible. However, if any member of council or the public would be interested in viewing an invoice, they can request an appointment with the treasurer to view any the specific invoice that they're interested in or invoices that they're interested in. Again, appropriate precautions will be required due to the COVID-19 pandemic for any such meetings to take place. Once we do resume physical meetings, the invoices will be once again available to members of council and the public to view at the council meetings in the purple folder on the table. And second, Councillor Grant also had a question in regards to bylaws. The question was dated Wednesday, June 24th. He just asked if changes can be made on a third reading. The answer is changes can be made to a bylaw at any point during first, second, or third reading. However, once the 3 readings have been completed and the bylaw is adopted, it may only be amended or repealed through a new bylaw. So just so that everyone is aware, anytime you want to make changes during the first, second, or third reading, you're available to do so. But once the bylaw has been, the readings have been completed and the bylaw has been adopted, then it can only be amended or repealed through a new bylaw.
Thank you.
One other thing that left my head.
That's it, Cindy?
Yeah, I thought I had something else, but I can't think of it at the moment, so yes,
Okay.
I'm done.
Okay,
I do-
thank you.
A question before we wrap up, Mayor Pennell.
Yes?
Cindy, I'm a little bit confused about the notice of motion. I'm just confused because I thought maybe we were going to move, I was going to present that at the meeting, we were going to move and second that so that the letter can be created. If I present it in the meetings, does it have to come back at next meeting to be voted on and then another meeting to be created? I'm just,
That's correct.
can I present that in the meeting and have it voted on in the same meeting?
No, not with a notice of motion.
Okay.
You would have had to have requested it be put on the agenda before the Thursday before a council meeting.
Okay, thank you. It's a misunderstanding, that's all.
So are you okay with that, Dean?
Yeah, I want to read the procedural bylaw because I just didn't understand. That's my
Okay.
my issue.
If you look at the agenda, item number 13 is where notice of motions are presented by council members.
But I can't, so I'll research it. It's not a big deal. I just want to make sure that in the future I get it right. I thought that I could notice a motion within a meeting and have it voted on, but it might have to come back. So I'll figure that one out.
Yeah, see, this is the notice of motion submitted to the clerk during the regular meeting or prior to the regular meeting by a particular councillor, signed and everything, and then it's brought to the next meeting.
Okay. Thank you.
You have any other old or new business, Cindy?
No, that's it.
So the next item on the agenda is the accounts approval report. Everybody had a chance to look at the printout that we had and then the one that was sent to us this afternoon. So I need a mover and a seconder for this. Sandy, can you move this one, please?
Yes.
Thank you. Dan, can you second this one, please?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. Okay, so we'll have a resolution moved by Sandy, seconded by Dan. That's the disbursements dated July 9th, 2020, in amount of $50,494.17, and July 14th, 2020, in amount of $425.48, be hereby authorized and passed for payment. Any discussion there, Sandy?
No.
Dan?
One second. And the dust rating was almost $22,000, was it? Did we budget that much for it? I thought we only budgeted like 15. The dust,
Pardon me, for
the
which
dust
item?
control, was the dust control over budgeted? Under budget? The dust control, I thought we had the price on that of like 15,000 or something like that.
No, I believe it was 19,720. Give
Okay.
me one moment. That's, the total on there is, I believe is including HST.
Mm.
And, okay, that's fine. It's okay.
Okay, thank you. Heather, any discussion?
No discussion.
Thank you. Dean, any discussion?
No.
Okay, so I need to vote to authorize this. Sandy, how would you vote? Yea or nay? Pardon me?
Yay.
Can't hear you, Sandy. Yeah, okay.
Councillor Maxwell, yea or nay?
Yes.
Councillor Olmsted
Yes.
and Councillor Grant.
Yes.
Thank you. I vote yea as well. So this resolution is carried. Council approved. So, okay, so now we're supposed to move into a closed portion, but it is 25 to 11, okay? So, I'm thinking we need to do that resolution to allow us to go past 11 o'clock. And then we all have to log off and log back in again, right? So can you create that resolution for us, Cindy?
Yes, I'm just trying to find one.
Okay, thank you. Okay. So I need a mover and a seconder on this. Heather, can you move this one, please?
Yes, I will. Sorry.
Thank you. And Dean, can you second it, please?
Yes.
Thank you. So we have a resolution moved by Heather and second by Dean that this regular council meeting will extend past the 11 o'clock p.m. adjournment designation for an extra hour until 12 o'clock a.m. midnight. So I need a vote in that. Councillor Cross, yea or nay?
Yay.
Councillor Maxwell?
Yes.
Councillor Olmsted?
Yes.
And Councillor Grant?
Yes.
I vote yea as well. So this resolution is carried. So I just want to make sure that we do, everybody knows what we're doing here, right? So everybody's going to log off, and we're going to log into the other special meeting that we have in our, that we received by email. Is that correct?
You just have to pass this one last resolution first, and then yes.
Sure, yeah. Oh, okay. So I need another mover and seconder here. So Sandy, can you move this one?
Yes.
And Dan, can you second this one?
Yes.
Okay, so we have a resolution moved by Sandy, second by Dan, that this portion of the meeting now be closed under the Municipal Act 2001. As per section 2392B, personal matters about identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, and section 2392D, labor relations or employee negotiations, re-landfill. Any discussion on this before we go ahead with it? Okay, so I need your vote, Sandy, yea or nay?
Yay.
And Councillor Maxwell,
Yes.
Councillor Olmsted,
Yes,
and Councillor Grant.
Yes.
Okay, I vote yea as well, so this resolution is carried. So was I correct in my instructions, Cindy?
Yes, this meeting will end now, and then everybody will log into a closed portion.
Okay.
Cindy, can
everybody-
you send that to the other address that I gave you earlier, please? Because my email is, I don't know what's going on.
Okay, I'll log back into the other
Thank
meeting.
you.
Okay. See you in a bit.
Okay.